go live.
Absolutely. I would very much.
We're going live. We're live. Hello, is the mics on? Yes,
Hello.
yeah, we are on. Right.
Good afternoon.
You join us in the middle of Caradog lamenting that macOS is just not as good as it could be, and the full screen apps are terrible, and macOS is basically designed for an iPad now.
Yeah, and it annoys me because when we looked at that iMac, the 2002 one, remember it was like all in a box?
Oh, yes.
That one, and it had the instruction manual and everything. I looked at it and went, oh my God.
Yeah.
Apple were so far ahead of anyone else.
It made sense back then.
They were so unbelievably far ahead. And then to see where they are now, I'm just like, the hell happened?
Yeah. And that's I think the complete lack of wanting to change anything, the lack of wanting to evolve is the problem there. Like I was having a conversation with Ted the other day about Macs, because we were talking about the right clicking and stuff, because he said, oh, do you need to right click in macOS? And I'm like, sort of.
Anytime you're using a web browser.
That's it. There needs to be a right click in macOS. However, the system was not intended to have a right click. Yeah. And again, back in the old days, when you work on old Macs, and even early versions of macOS 10, so you don't even have to go back as far as System 9, but early versions of macOS 10, yes, you can right click, but you don't need to.
Yeah.
There was never, at no point do you ever need to. There is either a menu for that in the top left or a shortcut key, So, yeah. Whereas, it got to the point these days where, people are like, there's not enough. We need somewhere to put all this extra stuff. If only we had some kind of alternate click that would pop up some kind of menu that changed depending on the context of what you had right-clicked on,
A context menu?
Almost like we need a context menu on a right-click, And so they put it in. But even still, obviously it's still, they were still like single-button trackpad, and it's technically a gesture to do the right-click. And, everyone else has followed that design these days because of reasons, for better or for worse, but that's where we live now.
It's also the thing that will bewilder anyone. If you took this Mac back to when it was new, and you looked at the trackpad and went, wow, that's a really small trackpad. Because you compare that to some of the modern ones, which are like this.
Yeah, I think the modern ones are too big.
I think could not comment on the complaint.
I think there is such a problem as being too big. How's everyone doing, by the way? Welcome on in, everyone.
Indeed.
So, yeah. Have we walked into our conversation? Yeah, we were kind of waiting for the time to go, and then we started ranting, and I was just like, what the time? Oh, yeah, well, here we are. So, yes. Screen size to touchpad travel. Yes. Anyway, right. Paul Daniels, hello. You stopped your obscure laptop repair just to be with you all. Well, thanks for coming along, Paul. How you doing? I hope your obscure laptop repair is going well.
Thank you for being obscure and fixing laptops.
A HP 2540p, but well, that's an EliteBook, isn't it? Yeah, interesting. Depends what's wrong with it, I guess. So yeah. The weekend waffle in English indeed begins. So yeah, we didn't have anything.
Oh, it's one of them.
Yeah.
Oh, I was genuinely wanting to try and find what this series of laptop was. Because do you remember we got a whole bunch of them?
NetPlay had a heckin' stack of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the EliteBooks and also the ProBooks, which sort of go hand in hand with them. But yeah.
I wanted to find out what they were, because I wanted to see if the modern ones were any good, because I remember those feeling really nice.
I don't hate them. The HP EliteBooks and ProBooks are a different company to the Pavilion consumer stuff.
Yeah.
And trust me, when you use them, and like when you work on them internally as well, they are night and day different. They are a completely different world to Pavilions. So like when people talk about EliteBooks and ProBooks and stuff, I'm just like, even they say sort of like, oh, I know it's a HP. I'm like, no, 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 that's fine. It's not a Pavilion, you know, or it's not a Spectre or a or the Envy. You know, the Pavilion, Spectre, and Envy lines, those are all consumer and they're all garbage. However, the EliteBook and the ProBook, different world, completely different world. So yes. What is the Apple on the table? That's a 2030 or 2012?
It is a late 2012.
Late 2012, yeah.
Which has been now rebadged as an early 2013, I believe.
Yeah. Yes. Anyway, this one belongs to Caradog, and he's been trying. He's been trying to kind of sort of daily drive it, just so he can be like, right, I'm gonna daily drive macOS so I can understand it. I need to know my enemy, you know?
Yeah.
So...
and looking at it, and if you lived only inside the web browser, which now makes it a Chromebook, it's okay. It's quite good because the keyboard is very nice for a laptop keyboard.
You can see why I liked the Apple keyboards, because you remember when you were
for a laptop keyboard.
Yeah, but still, yeah. And also the trackpads are really good.
For trackpads.
Yeah, sure.
It's still a case of sure, but it's also like, or I could have a real mouse.
And I think this is why, like, just before we started, I said, you know, this is why I said I don't think I could go back to a Mac. Because, like, don't get, you know, the trackpads are the best trackpads there are, end of story. But it's still a trackpad. And the keyboards are probably some of the best laptop keyboards. The butterfly keyboard doesn't count. We don't talk about that. The non-butterfly keyboards are still some of the best laptop keyboards, but it's still a laptop keyboard. And now I'm just like, now I have a mechanical keyboard and a decent mouse in front of a desktop computer with dual monitors, and it's just like, it's just better, you know. However, but if you needed a laptop, I would still contend that a MacBook is still probably some of the best you can do for laptops. It really comes down to a fact of just, yeah, you need a desktop to beat a Mac, I think.
I would say that certainly my Surface Book was very close, but on the Windows side. The only thing the two things that let it down was that it launched right when Intel was still beating the snot out of everyone and thought that it was acceptable to release a dual-core processor.
Yeah.
In like 2017.
Yeah, they haven't aged very well, have
It was a dual-core processor at like 2.4 gigahertz.
Yeah.
With like 1 kilobyte of L3 cache.
Yeah.
It's awful.
That's the problem that my 2014 MacBook has, and by extension this one I'd imagine as well. This will be a dual-core as well, I'd imagine. 2-core, 4-thread, I think.
So.
Yeah. Might be a quad-core.
No, it is a quad-core i7.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, because it's the i7 and a 15-inch, yeah. Like, I've got a 2014 13-inch, and that is a dual-core i5. And the reason why I stopped using it was just dual-core. It's just not enough.
Yeah, but it was the fact that I have an i7, which is 2 cores.
Yeah, dual-core i7 is stupid. Like, why does this exist? You know? Because that's the issue. Is just that, and the problem is real. There's lots of people who I have had lots of people bring in laptops, and they're like, "Oh, it's got an i7." I'm like, "Well, in name only. It's not really an i7, you know."
Sorry, I'm horrified because I've just looked at a modern EliteBook.
Yeah.
Modern EliteBook, £1,000 plus.
Yeah.
Has a display that only covers 45% of the NTSC color space. 45%.
I don't know the NTSC color space. Yeah.
That's garbage. That's like £17 throwaway monitor.
That's disappointing because on HP consumer laptops, so Pavilions, etc., even like the Envy, which is supposed to be the quote-unquote premium ones, you know, LCDs are always one of HP's weak points. They use really, really bad LCDs. You know,
basically those LCDs where you look at them from like 8 degrees off of true and they invert colours. That's the kind of display that would have 45% NTSC coverage.
There's the laptop that I was working on just before we went live. It's not that one. There's another HP that I put down somewhere.
I don't know. I wasn't looking.
Yeah, I kind of need to know where it is because I've got to, finish it at some point.
Oh, is it the one that's right there?
No, that's the Acer. Well, that's an Acer. Where the?
There is one on that chair.
Yeah, that's not it. It's
there is a
white or silver.
top deck there.
Yeah. White or silver. Unless I didn't put it on the shelf, did I? Oh, I did. Yeah, I just put it here for the time being. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's this thing. Yeah, this thing here. Okay, so this has got a clean install of Windows on it, so there's no customer data or anything.
Oh my god, that screen. No.
Yeah. However, let me just. Yeah, that's full brightness. And like this is a Pavilion, so this is what this is a standard issue cheap and naff HP laptop.
I'm at this angle, and the contrast is inverted on the icons.
Yeah. This is why I hate HPs, because this is what people are buying. It doesn't matter what they're capable of making. This is what is on sale in PC World, and this is what people are buying. And like, let's see if we can play a game here. There we go. So there's the screen.
Oh,
and it's gone. And here's the screen. And and it's gone. And it's gone. And also this is maximum brightness as well. Like I was working on it. I think this morning I came in. I was just like, oh, that's not at full brightness. Oh, it is at full brightness. Oh no,
And then just the comparison of a 2013 MacBook is like, oh look, you can still see it.
Yeah, look at that.
The bigger problem is the glass.
Yeah, like that. Just ignoring the reflections, the actual picture is still completely visible all the way to the point where it's physically 90 degrees sideways. So yeah.
Oh, that's depressing.
And that's the thing, and it's just like this is why I always beat on HP in my repair videos, because and like I was singing the praise of like EliteBooks and stuff like that, but the issue is that it doesn't matter if this is what people are buying.
Yeah.
From a pragmatist perspective,
yeah,
what they have available is irrelevant if what they're putting into PC World and what is actually getting sold to people is stuff like this.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, at least they're putting SSDs in them now. Thank God. And I think as a special treat, this one has dual Wi-Fi antennas. But for the longest time, they'd all have single Wi-Fi antenna solutions, which meant that they had garbage Wi-Fi. So, So I said, sold thousands of those. Yeah, exactly. 250 nits. So yeah. So yeah, this is the thing. All right, been ranting. I'm gonna heckin' catch up on the chat because I've not been paying attention to you guys. Dual Wi-Fi and HP? Never. Yeah. The only reason why they're going for SSDs now is because they're cheaper. I mean, yeah, you might be right, actually. A 256 gig SSD wholesale is probably what?
12 pence.
Yeah, but actually, you're probably, 256 SSD wholesale is probably cheaper than a 1 terabyte hard drive.
I would presume so.
Yeah, that had not occurred to me.
Because if we go even just on retail pricing on PC Part Picker, a Patriot Burst Elite 120, that's 120 gig, 256 gig SSD, £16.98, £17.
17, damn.
Yeah, £17 for 256 gig of SSD.
Like, sure, that's a really trash tier SSD, but I mean, that's not really any different. Like, I mean, as a point of example, this is an actual OEM class SSD that you'd find in these laptops.
Yeah.
It's Lighton brand. So, it's got a decent brand name on it, but still, I'd imagine it's probably the cheapest chips that they make,
Yeah.
So.
Whilst obviously the Crucial BX isn't particularly amazing.
Yeah.
BX 500 240 gig, £18.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I mean, at least you're getting Crucial written on it there, So yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah, it hadn't occurred to me that SSDs are quote unquote cheaper than hard drive. I mean, obviously that's 256 gigs versus 1 terabyte. However, a 250 gig class laptop is acceptable.
Yeah,
that's an acceptable amount of storage to put into a new product.
Yeah.
For the average user.
Or again on consumer pricing, Kioxia 480 gig for £25.
Sorry, say that again. Kioxia.
Kioxia 500 gig
Yeah.
class.
Yeah.
£25.
Damn. Yeah.
So it's a case of there are some very cheap SSDs out there now.
That is crazy. Yeah. MX500, it's only SATA, so not a great choice. That's perfectly fine for the vast majority of people.
I would rather have an MX500 than most of the cheap NVMe drives.
Same. Speaking from experience, like in my PC at home, I've got a 2 terabyte. I've got a 2 terabyte Crucial P2 or something like that. It's an SLC. Is it SLC cache? Yeah,
it will be. Yeah,
SLC cache NVMe SSD, and I have a 2 terabyte MX500 that is my archive drive. Now, the Crucial P2, that is supposed to be doing, you know, like 1,000 or 1,200 megabytes per second, and what it does, it goes and then 100 for the rest of the transfer. Whereas the MX500, that will just do 500 all day long. And so it ends up being faster because, you know, now obviously, you know, you can buy an SSD that is not SLC cache, and actually, you know, you could buy one that has decent caching on it, although that will be more expensive and you won't have this problem. But the point is that a good SATA SSD like an MX500 is better than a cheap NVMe drive. So definitely don't knock stuff just because it's SATA is the moral of that story. You know,
but it's just a
500 is still pretty. 500 megabytes per second is still pretty quick, basically.
Yeah. It is obviously the case though that the majority of people's workloads are very burst read heavy. So obviously, if you can do 7 gigabytes a second burst read, and your access time is the same, it will appear faster.
Yeah, that's reasonable.
Even though the you know 500 gigs written performance might be lower, but how many times are people writing 500 gigs in one go? Sort of comment. So it's
I support that, and I think that does work in the real world, which is why I still got that P2 in my computer. But it's on the flip side though, it's a case of it doesn't take a lot to overwhelm an SLC cache. You know, like I can be doing like a 10 gigabyte transfer and I'll see it drop off about half or 2/3 of the way through, kind of thing. It's astonishing how little you get out of it.
I'm surprised you have that because I don't. On my
I've had it on my P2 and I had it on my Intel 660p as well.
Yeah, on my 660p that would do about 350, 400 gigs and then
really? See, that's a non-issue as far as I'm concerned. You know, if you're transferring more than that, you shouldn't be buying cheap drives. You know?
But it's also a case of I don't know if I somehow have just set up something really well, because I can also do like maybe 100 gigs of writes to a hard drive at like 250 megabytes a second, and then it drops off. So something is clearly caching very well somewhere.
Modern high-performance hard drives are actually pretty good
for a hard drive. For sequentials.
Yeah. Like, obviously, there's still no match for SSDs, but an actual modern 3.5-inch hard drive, it's surprising how much they have improved. Like, I think, especially if you only ever encounter, like, for the longest time, I only ever encountered 2.5-inch laptop hard drives, which mostly top out at 100 megs per second. So, you know, I was just programmed to be like hard drive bad, you know. However, like the Western Digital Red in the backup machine there, that'll do like 240 all day long quite happily. And whenever it's doing it, I'm just like, wow, hard drives can actually go pretty quick on a good day.
Yeah, certainly on sequential stuff. Unlike snapshots will be functionally sequential.
Yeah, exactly. Snapshot is really, it's really great. It's why it works great as a backup drive, because Snapshot, it is a sequential read-write, even when it's going across small files, because it's doing a block-for-block copy, effectively. But so yes. Let's see. You think P5 is the way for crucial NVMe? Yeah, definitely. The higher the number, the better. They're improving all the time.
Yeah, I've got a P3 in my little caddy.
Yeah.
And the little P3 in here. will do 400 and something for at least 250 gigs.
Mm.
It won't go higher than 400, just because I don't think the dock can actually do more than 400 in this smidgen. But it will write that indefinitely.
Yeah.
As far as I can tell, which is, I think, good enough, especially for something that I'm just carrying around to use as a glorified pen drive.
Yeah, definitely. Especially because a lot of these enclosures generally tend to top out at around 300 or 400 megs anyway.
Yeah, I'm slightly sad that this seems to top out at 400-ish, even though it said it was a 10 gigabit one.
Yes.
It said it had a 10 gigabit controller and so on it.
Yeah, that's
I'm just
a bit disappointing.
sad that it's 400. I was hoping for sort of 800 one.
Yeah, yeah. Because like that's the thing is like my SATA ones can do 350, which is within a shout of that. But still, yeah. But that one was reasonably cheap though, wasn't it?
Yeah, something like 20 quid.
Yeah, that's not too bad then.
Yeah.
So yeah. Are SSDs with DRAM better? Yeah, I think DRAM is still the way forward for SSDs, isn't it? DRAM.
Yes, that might change if someone bothered to make a DRAM-less controller over PCIe 5 that used 4 full channels and was therefore basically more expensive than a DRAM one, because you could then access system RAM, DDR5 system RAM over PCIe 5 and basically avoid all of the issues because the other buses are sufficiently fast to avoid the bottlenecking.
Yeah.
But the answer is just put RAM on it.
Yes, yeah. That's probably where things will go eventually in the future, because we're talking about direct storage access and stuff like that there, in a way. Like, obviously, that's GPU to storage, but, it's in a similar vein to that.
Yeah, because the NVMe standard has the system host thing where the drive can use system RAM as its RAM.
Yeah.
But that's obviously slower than having it on board.
Yeah, that's right, because you've got to go across the buses and stuff.
Yeah, but if it's a PCIe 5 bus to DDR5, in theory, that will be sufficiently plentiful in bandwidth and high enough in clock speed for the latency to be low enough for it to be comparable to the cheap RAM that they would stick on the controller.
Yeah,
in
that
theory.
is true.
But I have zero actual evidence of this.
Yeah. How to solve Windows license expires soon. Windows license shouldn't expire. You should be activated or not activated.
Well, that depends on what the license is,
I guess.
Because if you've downloaded like the evaluation copies of Server or Windows 10 Enterprise, they will only have a license for 120 days.
Oh, okay, yeah. Either way, the answer is still the fact of just simply it's not activated. You need to get a license key and activate. Yeah, so, solution remains the same.
Unless something's gone really, really weird, and then you should be able to effectively deactivate it and reactivate it by sticking the key in.
Yeah. Yeah. Samsung uses their own technology to make their SSDs fast without DRAM cache, like the 980. Yeah, I assume the controller has got built-in cache of sorts there in that case, because like I assume that they've essentially built the DRAM cache into the controller, would be my assumption. But
I know that the 980 no suffix is DRAM-less.
Yeah,
completely.
There is a potato 980, isn't there?
The 980 has no DRAM.
Yeah.
Then there is the 980 Evo, the 980 Pro, and something else which will have DRAM and stuff. The 980 no suffix is still actually reasonably good as far as I can tell.
That's not bad then. Use all RAM for RAM disk. Could do.
That was something that I was kind of like, I was just like, with VRAM ever increasing on GPUs?
No. You stop that. You stop
I'm
that.
just going to install Doom to my VRAM.
Do not. QVO didn't like it at all. Yeah, the QVO drives are essentially...
they are designed to be Samsung's cheap drives.
Yeah. Are they SLC or just DRAMless? I forget.
They are
They're just DRAMless,
quad.
I think, aren't they?
They are QLC. They are quad bit per cell.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is the same as like the SN550 and the SN570, where they've got a terabyte on one chip. That will be quad layer.
Yeah, they're usable. I wouldn't class them as premium per se.
No, but they are for the average consumer still better than the other brands. But they're not great, but they're not terrible.
Yeah.
They are solidly fine, assuming you're not paying extra for them.
Yes. It's fair. Although, yeah, again, just the QVO drives are all SATA, if my memory serves me.
As far as I'm aware, all of the QVO drives were the 860s, and there weren't any NVMe ones.
That being the case, it's a case of just use an MX500, you know.
Yeah, the MX500 is a faster drive.
The MX500 is basically the best SATA SSD there is.
Yeah.
Short of like the 7 of 850 Pro,
the 860 Pro.
Yeah. However, that
stopped getting made about 10 years ago.
Yeah. Though. And it's still like, if you do see them, they're obnoxiously expensive for what they are. And like the MX500 is 99% as fast kind of thing. So yeah. Model System says, should you use pressure or airflow fans against a mesh front panel, or does it make no real world difference? You shouldn't need static pressure fans against your case mesh front panel. Otherwise, your front panel is bad and restrictive.
Yeah.
So I would be using airflow fans to get better throw into the case.
It would be a case of if it was like double stacked mesh, then it might be a slightly different conversation. And actually, the conversation is probably use airflow fans and get rid of one of the sets of mesh.
Yeah, because you don't really need to. Like, you're always going to get some dust in a computer.
Yeah.
And if you're not getting any dust, then you probably don't have any airflow either. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously the only other thing is if you're front mounting a water cooling radiator, then you'd probably want to use static pressure fans as your intake there, because you're then going through a radiator. But yeah, I would say airflow on a mesh front panel, realistically. I don't think it's going to make an enormous difference, because at the end of the day, it's more about just how much air is getting pumped into the case, per se. Like, switching between airflow and static pressure fans, it helps a bit, but it doesn't change your world. There is certainly an optimization, but I wouldn't, I generally don't blink whether I have one or the other. But yeah,
it's just avoiding the silent fans that are only 800 RPM.
Yeah, I think that's the big kicker, is that there are airflow fans out there that are advertised as quiet fans, and they're quiet fans because they top out at 800 or 900 RPM.
Yeah.
And that you do not move a meaningful amount of air, especially because
there's no problem with running your fans at 800.
Yeah.
But it's a case of you need to have the option of going to 12, 15, 18.
Yeah.
100 just for those moments where it's a case of there is high temperature.
Yeah.
So you put up with some noise to get rid of the high temperature, instead of being like, I'm at 100% fan speed and my temperatures are only going up.
Yes. It frustrates me greatly that you can buy PWM fans that top out at like 900 RPM, because I'm like, this is what PWM is for.
Yeah.
The fan should be able to do 2000 RPM and you run it at 20%.
Yeah.
It should be able, I should be able to put in a fan curve that tops out at 100 when I'm at 90 degrees C. So if things are hitting 90, the fans go into panic mode to just get heat out of the system, because it's either that or thermal throttle.
Yeah.
And also, if nothing else, that serves as your alarm bell that you've got a problem, because your fans have suddenly gone into panic mode. And
suddenly your computer is 55 decibels.
Yes. That's the thing. You have a cooling problem if your computer goes tornado mode. However, if your computer is unable to go tornado mode, your poor CPU is just like, guess I'll bake, So, right. Fractal pop air case, by the way. Still need to get one of those.
I think you should get an XL.
An XL? I don't like big cases. Well, do you know how big the XL is?
No.
I see. Why do you want me to get the XL then?
Because from what I've seen of the Pop, it looks like it's... Well, to be honest, the Pop is more your size of case.
Yeah.
I feel like, though, it's just too small of a case for...
Yeah. I mean, yeah,
Although if you're
like
using it,
MIDI
obviously,
towers.
for selling PCs, then yeah, absolutely
Yeah.
the Pop.
Yeah. Y209, thank you for the $5. My understanding of the universe is coffee, cider in, awesome content out. Oh, coffee and cider in, awesome content out. So here's my contribution to the good fight. Well, thank you very much, my dude. Much appreciated. I'm going to crack open a cold one in a moment. I think I'm feeling it today.
Was that Was that your joints?
No, it was the chair.
Oh, okay. Just because I heard...
Yeah.
I was like, oh!
Rolling back a little bit. Firephone also mentioned the Kingston Hyper. I think that was Kingston did one of their HyperX SSDs that had the RGB on it that caused the SSD to overheat.
Yeah, there were apparently 2 of those.
Was there 2 of them? I was going to say I thought that was just the one.
Yeah. HyperX, and there was someone else who did it as well.
I made the same mistake.
And both the drives just thermal throttled into the Stone Age.
It still blows my mind that that those are products that exist, because like with the Kingston HyperX one, it's just like it's not even difficult to reproduce. Like that's not even a lot of the time when people complain about issues with a product, it's usually because, in my opinion, they're using the product in a way where it's like, certainly you could do that, but that's not really how it was intended to be used.
Yeah.
You know, and like and when something is overheating, if you're hotboxing it, you can't really complain that it's overheating, you know.
Yeah.
However, that Kingston SSD, it was just like, nope, just with the LEDs on, it just overheated, and it's just like, how did this get to production like that? It's just
how were you why were you overdriving them that hard?
Yeah, like that's a lot of heat you've got to get out of those LEDs for that. So there. Crack open a warm one. Well, all of the cider is technically room temp in a sense that it's not in the fridge. However, it's cold in here. Well, I think it's cold in here.
It's like...
But that's my secret cap. I'm always cold.
It's maybe only 18 or 19 degrees.
Yeah, okay. The heater has been on, so it is reasonably warm. But yeah. Either way, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Talking of side, you can't fit a bigger than 280 rad at the front and only a 240 on the top on the regular Pop Air. See, I think that's fine, to be honest, because anything bigger than a 280 would be classed as a big radiator.
Yeah.
And if you're doing that, then you should be in a big case, you know.
Yeah.
So I think that's perfectly reasonable.
I don't see why you'd reasonably need more than a 280 in...
No. I think,
basically all situations, because...
The
only thing that's going to be a real struggle for that is like a 13900K or KS.
Yeah, there's a couple of the latest gen processors that just run really hot, whatever cooling you throw at them. So obviously, you know, more is better.
And you'll extract more performance out of like a 7900 and a 7950X by having like a 360 or something, but not to a particularly meaningful amount.
Yeah. I'm really pivoting toward lower power stuff. I'm not saying by like super low power, but like I had an epiphany.
What, like 100 watts low power, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like when the last LAN party I went to, when I built the frame PC up with my stuff in, I put a 3700X in there, which was what, a 95 watt TDP or something like that.
I don't recall.
Something around that area. And it meant that I could put this tiny little Cooler Master 70mm tower on it. And it was adorable. And I was like, is that going to be cool? And it was fine. It was cool enough. And I was just like, why do we bother with these big old water coolers when you could just lose a little bit of performance and just have a tiny little cooler on it and be fine, you know? And I'm not saying that, you know, obviously there's a time when you just want all the performance ever, so in which case cooling is no object. You throw as much as you need at it. Not saying bin all your water coolers, everyone, but it was kind of an epiphany that it is actually possible to build a very decent gaming PC that just doesn't really put out a lot of heat.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of proven with like the 13600K.
Yeah.
because the 13600K is
It's a ripper of a seat. It's
certainly very good for gaming.
Yeah,
and is
that's going to be a 95. Is it 65 watt class or 95?
It's still 200 because it's unlocked. It's unlocked fully maxed out, but it's a case of obviously because it's only 6 performance cores. You can obviously just throttle that to like 125 watts and just be like, lol.
Yeah, that's fair. For the record, just because there's always someone, I'm aware that TDP is not a real number, but it gives a good indication of what to expect.
Yeah.
Basically. TDP is a complete...
I cannot remember what Intel's equivalent of PPT is.
Yeah, because like if...
Oh, actually, basically just the true Tau 1 limit. Sorry, true Tau 0 limit.
Yeah.
I can't remember what that actually is. I think it's 241 watt.
Yeah.
And on the K CPUs, that is infinite turbo boost.
Yes, that's fair. However, of course, again, this is all assuming that we're building gaming PCs where you don't have a constant load, and that changes a lot. Like I don't like the idea of building a computer that can't run at full tilt all day every day without overheating. But also, like as soon as you say, you know what, I don't run full all-core loads all the time, so actually it's perfectly fine to underspec the cooling slightly, and I'm not saying that that's a recommendation, but it's a case of I think it's important to understand that is a thing that you can actually reasonably do. You know? So yes. And yes, it is lousy Smarch weather. Caradog has gone to tinker with the camera. You put the thermal limit on your 7700X with 30 millivolts undervolt, runs 85C and 5.3 gigahertz all core. That's a good result. Yeah, that's fairly reasonable. And like that's kind of nice because we know these things will happily go up to 95. So if you can sit at 85, you're comfortable. Because also it's just like, we said this when the 7000 series first came out. It's just like, I don't care if AMD says that that's an acceptable temperature. I don't want 95 degrees in any of my cores. I don't know. But I guess also, though, it's just 95 degrees does not mean you have that many watts of heat. That's just what the hotspot is, kind of thing. Because I think the biggest concern that I had was, what's that going to mean in terms of heat soak? Like that heat soaking out to all of your capacitors around the CPU and stuff like that. And the answer to that is it doesn't.
Yes, the thing that is difficult is kind of the separation of thermal power and temperature. And so on.
Yeah, that's fair. Any thoughts on Sabrent versus Samsung NVMe? I
haven't seen any modern benchmarks of Sabrent's stuff. All I have seen is stuff that was like end 2019, beginning 2020.
Yeah,
that basically demonstrated that they were super high sequential performance drives with massive burst read-write speed, but like actual heavy workloads, so lots of random read-write I/O.
Yeah,
they were really slow.
They feel like the modern day OCZ, where it's a case of like on paper and on benchmarks they can pull some big old numbers. However, in real life they're okay.
I don't think there's anything wrong with them, but if you're purchasing them as sort of a more workstation class drive, they aren't.
Yeah. At the end of the day, I think Samsung will always be the last word. Assuming
sort of workstation drive.
Well, in general, if you're buying an Evo or a Pro, I think Samsung is always going to be if you buy this, you have the best in class, or the joint best in class, or 99% of the best in class kind of thing.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But also they are consistently noticeably more expensive than anything else. So, and like I generally don't buy Samsung drives just because usually there's something else that's 20 quid cheaper and is 95% as good, kind of thing. And I'm more than I don't need the best, because I know that you're going to pay a tax for the best.
But yeah,
So,
it's certainly a case of, if you're doing actual like workstation loads on it, then yeah, the Samsung drives will be better, from what I have seen from a little while ago. Yeah, but a case of like, if it's general desktop usage, like playing games, loading Word documents, opening your browser, there's functionally no difference between any of the SSDs these days.
Yeah, for the end users, and I think this is why, I mean, again, it's why my choice is still just MX500 in most people's laptops. Even sometimes, when the laptop has a M.2 slot in it, if I'm replacing a hard drive, I'll put an MX500 in, because that's the one I keep in. Although, that much being said, I now consistently keep NVMe drives in stock. So, but yeah, I think the vast majority
to stock what, P5s?
Yeah, and the Kioxia drives. Yeah, like those
KN?
those Kioxia 1 terabyte drives. Like, I think at one point there were Kioxia 1 terabyte drives at like £35 or £40.
Yeah, they're 40 quid from eBay at the moment.
Yeah, and I'm like, man, it'd be stupid not to buy some of those for some, because you can lob them in a computer, and like, yes, they are not the highest in class performing drive or anything, but you can lob that into a build, you can lob that into a laptop, and it's going to do a great job, and you're going to have a terabyte of SSD in there.
Yeah,
and like you say, most people are not going to notice the difference.
And it's also, I would say, dramatically better to stick a terabyte slow SSD in there than a 500 gig fast SSD, because the terabyte will be faster for longer. Because obviously, if you've only used a quarter of it, that's still 256 gigs of space used.
Yeah.
Or if you're only using a quarter of a 512, that's 128 gigs used, which is Windows plus half a game.
Yes.
Kind of thing. So it's just that.
Agreed. 500 is, you can do 500, but considering how little it is to go to a terabyte in a lot of instances, I'd rather have a slightly cheaper 1 terabyte than an expensive 500. Yeah. And like, I kind of had this with my main PC at home. Is my Windows drive was a 500 gig, and I had a I think at the time I had a 1 terabyte as my second NVMe, and then the 2 terabyte archive drive. And the 500 was a 980 Pro, I think, actually, or a 980 Evo. And that was kind of the issue, is I was finding myself having to shuffle things around, because I wanted everything on the super quick Samsung drive. And I knew that as soon as I put it on the my Intel 660p, I was going to lose some performance, and just shuffling things around was annoying. Whereas now I have just a 1 terabyte. I mean, it's still a Gen 4 drive apparently, but it's that Gigabyte Aorus.
It's the Gigabyte Aorus Gen 4 one.
Yeah, and I've no idea how good it actually is, but it seems to be pretty good. But yeah, I don't know. The point is just, storage is cheap. Just get more storage.
Yeah, I picked up that Gen 4 Aorus drive just because it was the cheapest Gen 4 1 terabyte drive that Scan had it the day I was looking.
Yeah.
And it had a special offer on it that meant that delivery on my entire basket was free. So I was like, nice. I'm grabbing this one then.
Very well. BX500s are utter garbage. Had 2 of them just to store files. They would heat up and degrade like hell. Yeah, I mean, BX500s are fine for, they're really good for budget SSDs. You put them in a laptop as a like, if most people with consumer laptops coming with a failed hard drive, you put a BX500 in there, it's going to be fine.
Yeah.
However,
and
I can tell you now,
anything older than like 8th or 9th gen.
Yeah. However, I have seen several failed BX500s, and I've seen maybe 2 failed MX500s. The MX500, and I fitted a lot more MX500s as well. The MX500 is way more reliable. So, and that's why I pay another £10 for the MX500. Because it's really embarrassing when someone brings the computer back in and the drive you fitted has failed. That's something that you never want to happen. And as I say, I've seen I've seen significantly more failed BX500s than MX500s, and I've fitted a lot more MX500s, which means the odds of them failing should be significantly higher by number in the field kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because that's always the thing you've got to keep in mind is obviously how many of them are out there. Yeah. So, yeah, I think
it's the comment of, oh, VW Golfs always break down.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but VW Golf,
everyone's got a Golf,
outsells every other car in the country.
Yeah, yeah. Because this was the thing for ages is, you know, people with hard drives, people are saying sort of like, oh, Western Digitals, they always fail. You know, I've got boxes of failed ones. It's just like, yeah, but all the OEMs use them.
Western Digital also outsell every other OEM supplier by saying like 11-1.
Yeah.
I would hope you have 11 times more failed.
That's it.
WDs.
So yeah, as I say, it depends on use case. Just the important thing to remember is just the BX500 is not a premium drive, so don't expect premium performance from it. Basically, you know, it is a budget drive, and if you buy something that's budget, it may fail. That's just the way it works, really. So yeah, it is use cases, I think. So yeah, some laptops don't accept M.2 SATA drives, only NVMe. Yeah, I replaced like for like. So I don't. Although SATA M.2 drives are actually getting quite difficult to find now. There's some of them out there, but they're horridly priced. Like they're a premium price for a SATA M.2 drive.
Yeah.
Which is a shame. Thankfully, it's really uncommon to see a laptop that has a SATA M.2 drive in it that won't take an NVMe. I have encountered it once or twice, but it's pretty darn rare. So, yeah, they are out there, but it's not something I've seen be a reasonable problem. So, how do the suffixes compare? It goes... where does the plus land? Because it's Evo is the good consumer. Pro is about the same performance but significantly higher endurance. And where does the plus land for the Samsung drives? Because I can never remember.
I don't know.
I think the
just
plus
because I stopped looking at Samsung drives before they'd actually released the plus.
Yeah, because the plus confuses me greatly as well. I have no idea if the plus is good or not. I think the plus is. I think it's about the same as the Evo, just maybe less minimum rights before failure or something. Caradog is going to look it up.
Oh, you've got Evo, Evo Plus, Pro, Pro Plus, Pro Endurance.
Oh God! Oh, the plus is on top of the other things. I see.
So I would assume it is Evo, Evo Plus, Pro, Pro Plus, Pro Endurance, being an equal to the Pro Plus.
What do you get with the plus ones then? What is that actually adding?
I would presume it is going to be... Huh, what? Oh, that gets confusing. Yeah. I dislike the Samsung website already.
I see. Ken says, my Ryzen won't pass the Win 11 test. Yeah, you got 1000 or 2000, I would guess there. It is possible to forcibly install it anyway, but if you go down that route, be prepared to possibly have issues, because Microsoft is getting kind of weird about computers that don't pass the minimum requirements for Windows 11. Like they said sort of like, oh no, we're going to be cool about it. You can just install it if you want. And then I saw stories of apparently people getting pop-ups about that, but not 100% certain on that yet. However, I wouldn't be super fussed about 11, if I'm honest. You're not missing out on much, in my opinion. Not that 11 is bad per se, it's just doesn't bring anything to the table, in my opinion. PNY I haven't used in a hot minute. No idea.
PNY make all of the NVIDIA Quadro cards. This is an interesting aside. All Quadros are made by PNY.
Yeah, fair. Ryzen 5. What generation, though? A Ryzen 5 what? Butaudo says, been very lucky with the PNY SSDs, still haven't had one fail me. Yeah, there's always someone who's just like, oh, I had some of those, they were terrible. And there's always someone who's just like, I've had one, never had a problem. So
it looks like
your mileage may vary.
It looks like the Evo is only on the 870 now, and the 980 doesn't have an Evo, according to the Samsung website. But the Samsung website also refuses to accept that the 980 Evo or Pro exists.
Maybe they're phasing out the Evo
it's
or
being
something.
a bit weird and just not listing half of their stuff that they actually have.
Yeah.
Computing.
Sleepwalk says they moved the goalposts again and all the reg hacks to install 11 have been shut down. Yeah. I wish they would actually just make up their mind. Just either allow it or don't allow it. Just pick one. Like, personally, if they didn't allow it, I wouldn't be mad about that. You know, like from day one, when they set out the requirements for Windows 11, I was like, okay, fine. If that's, you know, because there are good reasons for it. I'm trying to decide, like, I keep, you know, I should have done it this week actually, but I keep thinking that I want to do a video that is basically just, like, I've had the rant on this, I'm not going to do it now because I've done it on the podcast a dozen times, my Windows 11 theory, but I've been thinking of doing an actual video that just says my opinions on the existence of Windows 11. Why it is the way it is, why the system requirements are so high, etc., etc., etc. You know, yeah, like I'm not mad about their system requirements. I think they're quite justified personally. However, them constantly moving the goalposts and saying we will allow it, we won't allow it, it'll be allowed but not supported. I'm like, just pick one, Microsoft. Give consistency. That is more important. You know, I'm trying to turn off this laptop so I can put it on the shelf because it's got no drivers on it. There we go. Sitting there, slowly baking itself. Oh. And it was a Ryzen 5 1600. Yeah, that's getting a bit long in the tooth now, unfortunately. So yeah, probably do an upgrade there if realistically. Well, if you want 11 anyway. But like I said,
look for a second-hand 3600 off of eBay.
Yeah, 3600 would probably work in whatever motherboard you're running a 1600 in, because that's going to be what, a B350 or an X370
or an A320. Even then,
yeah,
it was
still run a 3600.
Also, just make sure you're on the latest BIOS for your board anyway that still supports the 1600. Look at the BIOS updates.
Yeah.
Make sure it doesn't say anything about dropping first gen Ryzen.
Yes.
Or Zen, and basically update to whichever is the latest one that supports that. Anyway, as a matter of course.
Yeah. And yeah,
there are
Ryzen 5 3600. It's essentially the 3rd gen Ryzen equivalent of what you have, and that will have FTPM and support Windows 11.
Yeah.
And it will probably work in your motherboard.
Yeah.
But just
£80 buy it now, which is a little bit higher than I'd want to pay.
Yeah.
But it's a buy it now.
Yeah. And also, when you're upgrading an old system like this, it's not necessarily good value for money. It's just cheaper than replacing everything.
Yeah. If you're willing to look at actual bids, £65 to £80 looks like the going rate.
Yeah.
Clumping more around 60 to 65.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's not a bad.
Oh.
If you're willing to, spend a bit of time bidding on stuff.
Y209 says sound keeps cutting out. Is anyone else having cutout problems? I'm not seeing anyone else mention that, but just to double check. Let's see. What do we think about the Ryzen 7000 X3D series? It seems to be pretty good.
I am
expensive, I think, isn't it? Or
I don't know. I've not specifically looked at the price,
but I think the prices are just like they are. You know, the prices are what they are. But
I am slightly sad that they didn't do 2 CCDs of Vcache on the 7950X and 7900X.
Same, because the 7950X is kind of weird. Like I think the 7900X seems to be the one to go for, doesn't it? But then
the
doesn't it have the
7800 is probably going to be the better balanced thing.
True, yeah, because the issue that the 7900 has lower clock speeds than the 7950X, doesn't it? I think because the 7950 because the 7950X, even though when it's actually firing, when it's going like full X3D mode kind of thing, it's effectively parking half of its cores that aren't on the X3D.
Yeah, which makes it a 7800X.
Yeah, and so it's a case of, so one could then argue, aren't you just wasting your money if you're buying it for the 3D cache?
Yeah.
But it clocks higher than the rest of them. It feels like AMD deliberately lowered the clock slightly on everything else to make sure that the 7950 X3D would still make sense.
No idea.
Yeah,
specifically because I haven't actually looked at a table of specifications.
Yeah. I need to go over the I need to go over the Gamers Nexus videos again, because the Gamers Nexus, this is basically the angle that they were taking on it. However, I was listening to their reviews while I was working on stuff, so I was kind of only half listening.
I found that I think that I feel like the past 3 or 4 months of GN videos have become far less decisive and are using far too many words to not describe anything. Because they used to be far more decisive and say, this is good because of, this is bad because of, make a decision. Now they're kind of going, it could be viewed as good, it might be considered bad. Some people could have an opinion of.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
And I'm just kind of like, you're supposed to be the one with the opinion because you're the one with the empirical data.
Yeah. I think what they need to do is to present their empirical data and say, here's the data, make up your mind on that. However, if you want to know our opinion based on what we have interpreted from this data, this is what we think.
Yeah.
Because they're desperate to be by the data. However, it's a case of
you can still failing to actually be by the data.
You can still present the data and then state your opinion based on your interpretation of that data. Because there's always going to be some people who think they're interpreting it wrong. But in that case, you can say, well, fine, there's the data.
There we go.
We presented it.
That is
suffice to say, this is what we think. But yeah, certainly, it felt to me like they were implying that that AMD had nerfed the lower chips so that the 7950 X3D would still make sense. Because one could argue that if you're parking half of your cores in order to use the 3D cache, what's the point in having those cores at all?
I hadn't realised that. Right, so I'm going to throw a lot of numbers out here.
Okay. Right. Yeah.
Just to answer that question.
Yeah.
Because all of the names are numerical, so it's going to be lots of numbers. So I'll try and keep it. 7950X3D.
Yeah.
Boost 5.7 gigahertz.
Fucking hell. Yeah.
7950X.
Yeah.
Boost 5.7 gigahertz.
Okay.
Boost is the same.
Yeah.
Base clock speed, as in minimum guaranteed clock speed.
Yeah.
4.5 gigahertz on the 7950X.
Yeah.
7950X3D 4.2.
Okay.
So it's 300 megahertz drop on the base clock.
Okay. Yeah.
Right.
Arguably irrelevant because boost is all we care about anyway.
Yeah. Secondarily, the TDP has been reduced by 50 watts on the 3D cache version, which means that you are going to hit those boosts less often.
Yeah.
On the 7900 X3D compared to the 7950 X3D, the boost is 100 megahertz lower, but the base clock is 200 megahertz higher. 7800 X3D, the boost is all the way down at 5 gigahertz. It's 0.7, it's 700 megahertz slower than the 5950 X3D.
See, I think that's the main thing, is that the 800 class one is massively nerfed, whereas on the 5000 series and the 3000 series, the 5800X, that was, it was basically, it was balls to the walls, overclocked out of the factory, and was a case of, we make, we boosted the hell out of this CPU. As long as you can cool it, have fun, kind of thing, you know. Whereas now it feels like they've nerfed down those lower ones because those are the ones that gamers were buying because they didn't need the extra cores. So now if you want the actual top tier performance, you've got to buy the higher core count CPUs to get access to those higher boost clocks.
The X3, the X3D drops. The 5800 X3D is 400 megahertz slower than the 5800X.
Yeah. However,
on base clock and 200 megahertz less on boost clock. So the 5800 X3D is slower on clock speed than the 5800X.
However,
the
also
5800X also does have a lower boost target than the 5950X.
Yeah, although it's only by 200 megahertz, which is not a huge amount, given also just how realistically how often you're actually going to hit those numbers.
But the 5950X were specifically the premium CCDs.
Yeah.
And they actually more often boost to 5.01.
Fair enough, yeah.
Based off of the, again, sample size of 2, but the 2 I have, they will single core, 2 threads a load, 4 threads a load, 2 cores, boost to 5.1, just on their own.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a case of
either way though. On the 7000 though, those the boost clocks listed are still a much wider margin.
Yeah, they are.
We could theorize that performance gap is going to be bigger.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
I would have to look at the graphs to see what the real world scores are again to see if it actually matters.
We haven't seen benchmarks of the 7800 X3D yet.
Yeah.
Because that's next month.
Yeah.
As far as I can recall.
Either way, suffice to say, the 3D cache seems to make a huge difference in games once again. I mean, again, it does depend on the game.
Yeah.
However, it seems to be anywhere between an incremental improvement to a massive improvement.
Yeah.
Either way, it's going to be good, kind of thing. So
yeah, which thus infers that the 7800 X3D is going to be a little pocket rocket for gaming.
Yeah, although, to be honest, right now for gaming PCs, I kind of feel like the 13600K is the way to go. Mainly just because you can drop that in a DDR4 board and lose
35% performance.
Oh, is it that much?
It's horrifying.
Oh, okay. Never mind then.
You can stick it in a DDR4 board and it'll be slower than a 7800 X3D. It'll be slower than a 5800 X3D. So if it's slower than a 5800 X3D and you're putting it in a DDR4 board,
never mind then.
Put a 5800 X3D
Oh, that's a shame. I was still hoping that the gap was close enough that you could just DDR4 the 13600K and have just a hilariously 5 gaming PC.
DDR4 is dead.
It is dead, yeah. Fair enough.
It's dead. Give up.
Yeah.
Just accept that DDR5 is like 10% more expensive at the bottom end.
It's also the cost of the motherboards though as well. DDR5 motherboards are expensive. This is a fact.
I've not looked at Intel boards, so I couldn't say, but yeah, I would presume so.
Yeah, like I haven't been doing a lot of digging, but like if we take, I mean, I know Asus aren't the best example, but I've been really sad about Asus's latest gen boards, and I can't remember if this was for AMD or Intel, but it used to be that the tough, the tough and the Strix were around about £200. And then you had the tough and the Strix around £200. There was the Prime that was the poor man's one. That was probably like 150 or something like that. And then you had the Crosshair Hero, which would be like £300 or £400, and then the Crosshair Extreme that you would then start going into the Halo boards. However, now the Strix boards are like £300 to £400. I think the Z690 Strix, I think it is like £400 for a Strix. And I'm like, what? Are you kidding? That's like £200 more. It's double the price, you know. So that's why I'm still trying to look for cheaper boards. But that much being said, though, as I say, I haven't checked prices before making these sweeping statements, but that just seems to be the direction that Asus specifically have been looking in, which just as a snapshot, as a side window, you know.
Oh yeah, I was going to say, to get the first... Is that DDR5?
Yeah.
You're still talking about... No, that's DDR4. Wow. What the hell are the DDR5 boards?
Chris says GN's most recent video is theorizing that a hypothetical 7600X3D with one CCD with 3D cache isn't released because it would cannibalize their sales. Yeah, it would be fast enough that there would be zero reason to buy any higher chip for gaming, and yeah, I could see that being an issue. So yeah. Sleepwalker says, info on Windows 12 is limited at best. What do you think it's going to be like? No idea.
Don't know. Struggle to care.
Yeah. I haven't looked up any of the information.
Not to be dismissive of you and your question, but
yeah.
Of Windows.
Yeah. That same here. Again, not wanting to be dismissive of you and the question. However, right now with Windows 12, I don't care.
Yeah.
No interest. There's so little information out there that anything is based on speculation at best. And given the direction, the only thing that would make me care about Windows 12 is if they said it's more like Windows 10. And I don't think that's going to happen. Like I'll quite happily, like if Windows 12 ends up being closer to 10 than to 11, I will rejoice because I don't like the direction that 11 went in. Love the visual style, but the philosophy of making it patronizingly simple, because Microsoft were like, okay, no one knows how to use a computer, so we're just basically going to strip out all the functionality to the point where you idiots can figure it out. I'm like, no, this is why I went back to Windows 10. You know, I'm trying not to have a Windows 11 rant because we've done it many times, but whatever. The problem with 11 is that I understand that they were trying to simplify things and stuff like that, but instead of just hiding the more advanced features, they literally removed them, which is just a punch in the face to power users. And it's just like, look, we get it that Joe Public are morons and don't know how to use a computer, but some of us do know how to use a computer.
Yeah.
And I really hate, like, I prefer to be on the latest version of an operating system. Like, you know, when every time a new version of Windows has come out, I have embraced it with the exception of Windows 8 because Windows 8 was legitimately bad on release. And I'll fight anyone who says otherwise.
You're wrong.
I'll fight, but not now. We'll go out to Tesco later on and fight there. However, the point is, every time, like all the people that are just like 7 is better than 10. You know, I'm not going up to 10. Shut up and install 10, you idiot. And now I feel like I'm being that guy with Windows 11, being like 10 was better than 11. I've become the thing I hate. But the problem is just 11 is just legitimately bad. It's just legitimately annoying to use. I tried. I really did. I daily did it on my PC for like 2 or 3 months. You know, I really tried. And I went back to 10. And so, yeah, Windows 12 is going to need to be closer to 10. Otherwise, I'm going to be that guy who's going to hold on to 10 until the very end, you know.
We've still got another 2 years to see what's happening anyway before it even becomes a conversation.
Exactly that. I think the thing is, like, 12 is far enough away that no one cares. I think also I don't care about 12 because it's just big sigh. Microsoft have just gone back to just numerical releases. And I don't know. Maybe if they do an Apple and just start doing incremental updates.
I wonder if as well they're going to do 12 so they can bury 11.
See, that would be an ideal result for me.
Because 11 has got the response it has, despite being such a minor change on 10.
Yeah.
Back end wise.
Which in a way is part of the problem, is that they did all of this song and dance of the minimum system requirements and stuff like that for what is basically a reskinned 10. Because it literally runs the same kernel. So it's just... I think that's my beef with Windows 11, is that it doesn't need to exist.
I would have been quite happy if Windows 11 had been Windows, was it called Neo? Or whatever the hell it was, the tablet one they were doing, which was basically going to be no legacy support, dump everything older than X and so on. And if it had been that, and it had been a separate release branch and gone, here is 10 gets once a year, so not service packs, build updates, blah, 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 blah. But there is this effectively like Ultrabook 10X, that's it. If it had been effectively this Ultrabook edition of Windows, to be a Chrome OS competitor.
Yeah.
If they had done that, I would have been quite content with that, I think. Because I think that would have been a good way of serving both desires of being a desktop OS for powerful computers with all of the stuff that comes with that can do literally anything. You chuck in hardware between 20 years old and just released, and it will find something and make it work. And I need this to run on a laptop that's £110 and has a single core Celeron on it.
Microsoft has this big problem of wanting to do an Apple and saying, yeah, we're cutting legacy support for all of this stuff, but not having the balls to commit.
Yeah,
in a meaningful way.
And I think if they had done that as a separate,
like you say, a separate branch, effectively,
then that would have been fine.
Cut all the legacy support, and for all the people who would bitch and whine and say, I want to run this on my 10-year-old computer, you can say, fine, run Windows 10. It's still going to get build updates.
Yeah,
you know,
fine. You can mess around with this OS and try and make it work if you want, but
because if that's what you like doing, then power to you. It's your computer. You can run whatever you like on it.
Yeah.
However, the problem is that they've released 11 and said we're cutting Windows 10 in 2025. And yeah, sure, anything that can't run 11 will be obsolete by that point. But there's still going to be people who are like, no, actually, I do want to run a 10-year-old device. And because, like, unfortunately, it's easy for us in like, you know, America and the UK to be like, oh, your computer's 10 years old, absolute peasantry. But unfortunately, there are a lot of other countries in the world where, quite frankly, technology is behind. And they do run cheaper stuff.
Not even that. You look at, obviously, people in the UK as well. You just look at the present situation we're in socially. Socially. Even.
Yeah, that's true. Because obviously, just to an extent of people, you know, if you happen to be on the tail end of your computer's lifespan, you're looking at, you know, £400 or £500 to replace it, and you know it's easy. That might just be something that you literally cannot afford.
Yeah.
You know, if you're living paycheck to paycheck, and the vast majority of us, myself included, we do live paycheck to paycheck. You know, so yeah, that's understandable. So that's fair. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Go get that cider. Yes, that's a good idea. I'm going to get that cider.
Absolutely.
Do you want to?
Would you grab me a Weston's, please?
Oh, Weston's, very well.
Thank you. I feel like I at least want to mention the addresses on the broadband. Because, just because we were having the conversation about this, and there being 2 addresses for this place, and them having different allocations.
Yes.
But wait, there's more. So if I may show you, this is BT's website from the broadband selection.
Okay, hang on a sec. Just to preface this, I have fiber to the cabinet broadband here. I've got 70 meg down and 17 meg up, and I want to go up to fiber to the premises so I can actually have gigabit broadband, or like 900. It is 900 synchronous, isn't it?
It's 900 150.
900 150. Oh, okay. Oh, that 150, really?
Yeah.
I thought that's a lot. Like I was expecting like 300 or something like that, but okay, doesn't matter. Anyway,
it's the same package I've got.
Fair enough. Anyway, 900 down, 150 up. 150 up is still a lot, so yeah.
Yeah, certainly compared to 17.
Yes, precisely. However, BT is not offering me the upgrade because my address is listed in a funky way on their website. So they're like, we're not sure if this is available to you, so we're just not going to offer it.
but it's available for the property there, the property there, the property there, and the property there.
And also the dog outside, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's literally available for every single property on this road, but it's not available for the address that is linked to the account for Graham's account because reasons. But yes, it gets worse.
Yeah.
Because allow me to demonstrate.
Okay.
So you have on here.
Yeah.
3A, 3B, 3B, 3C, and 3D. Okay.
Yeah.
There are 2 3Bs.
Yeah.
Fine.
So this is this building is Talbot House, which is why it's 3 Salisbury Street, Talbot House, which is why there is an A, B, C, and D because the building is divvied up.
Yeah. Then you look at PlusNet, and there is Talbot House number 3,
Yeah.
3A, 3B,
Yeah.
Calypso 3B, Adamant I, T, 3B, 3C, 3D.
Yeah. See, what annoys me is just the fact that they can't be like, look, we've got fibre to Salisbury Street. If it's on Salisbury Street, then it can get fibre. Because the line is going down the road, so, you know, you have it.
But yeah.
Yeah. Fine. However, we decided that in order to fix it, I need to drop my current package and sign up effectively as a new customer.
You have to sign up as a new customer.
Yeah, which is fine. However, the other night when we were talking about this, the quotes you were giving me were like double what I'm paying now, which is a bit like, oh, I want gigabit, but not badly enough to pay twice the price.
Yes. But what you can do is you can get a full fibre. You can get a full fibre package that is precisely the same speeds as you're already getting.
Why would you get full fibre at 74 meg?
Because
I guess they can decommission the old.
They can get rid of the telephone lines.
Yeah.
They get rid of the copper lines that way.
Yeah.
But also with that, in theory, your latency should be better.
Yeah. I mean, if
Just
it was
because
like
there's
74, if it was like 74 meg synchronous, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing it's not.
No, it's literally the same 8020 package.
Yeah.
It's a 1-to-1 8020 package.
Like, I want the upstream. Like, more downstream is great, but I want the upstream so I can actually start running servers out of here.
Yeah, then you can get this, which is 150 30.
Yeah.
Then
so incrementally better.
Then 575, and then 900. 110.
Yeah.
The 110 is more like a 140.
Yeah.
At least on my line.
Yeah, and it's sort of
it's
an extra tenner a month for each package going up. So it's kind of a case of like, on account that, you know, like the 150/30 package, I don't think that's worth. Well, like that's not worth upgrading to because
it's only £1.
Sure. Yeah. However,
it's £1 to go from what you've got currently.
Yeah.
To the 150/30.
Yeah.
And £1.
Sure. However, if I want more speed, then going from 20 up to 30 up is not a big difference. So it's just like, okay, I want a faster package than that then. So I can pretend to discount that. Like if I was just renewing, then yes, I'd go to that.
Yeah, but it's also a case of that's still 10 more.
Sure.
Which now means that you can do this stream at the settings it is.
Yeah. And
still have like
bandwidth available.
Basically have the same bandwidth available as you had before you upgraded.
Yeah, but then the problem is,
so
for an extra tenner, we double the upstream to 73, is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, to 73. So it's a case of, for an extra tenner, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah, absolutely, but just
573 for an extra tenner. So really, the choice is the 500 or the 900 package.
Yeah.
So then at that point, you've got that annoying thing of, okay, well now it's only an extra tenner to go to the 900 package.
Yeah.
But now we're £20 more, and now I'm paying £60 a month. Yeah. And also, this doesn't include calls, does it?
It does not include calls, but it includes the phone line.
Yeah.
The calls will be pay as you go.
Yeah.
And then it's £7 a month for 700 minutes.
Yeah.
So you need to run the numbers. You need to actually look at the numbers and see whether you actually make enough minutes of calls for it to be worthwhile paying for it, or to just have it as pay as you go.
Yeah. You know what? I don't know if I do or not at that point. historically, it's always worked out cheaper for me to have the minutes package included.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm kind of tempted to go for the 500 option, just also knowing that because yeah, 75 up is still pretty decent because like I want to host servers out here, but like this isn't going to be file servers. No. It's going to be like game server stuff. But then the other thing as well is I kind of wanted a hilariously high upstream because one project that I wanted to consider running was setting up all of my own cloud services. So, you know, my own personal music streaming, my own personal cloud storage and stuff like that, which would require as much upstream as possible.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But yeah, I like the fact, though, that if I select the Adamant IT address, you cannot have phone lines or broadband.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's funny. It's very, very silly.
On many fiber lines, you can't dial 999 when there's a power cut. Really? That can't be right, surely.
It depends on precisely what your setup is. However, yeah, basically.
I mean, if you're using voice over IP for the phone, then sure.
Which it is.
Oh, I see. Oh, I see. If you're running full fiber, does the telephone literally run over the phone? Oh, of course. There's no copper, is there? So yeah. Okay, yeah, that makes more sense now. I hadn't thought of that.
However, as far as I understand, and I'm not entirely certain if it is still the case, but there was like an 8-hour battery backup for the modem. For the actual fiber modem, because that's the install we had. We have an 8-hour battery backup on the fiber modem. That means for 8 hours it will still work.
Interesting. Does it just have an internal battery or something?
There's just a pack that is for NIMOs.
Fair enough. Yeah.
And it's like 8-hour rated, but yeah.
Yeah. Very well. Mr. Acker says, bro works at Virgin, so you pay £36 a month for gigabit. Nice. Yeah. I might just have to bite the bullet and pay up.
Yeah. Also, the other thing I found is that other providers who say they will do full fiber won't do telephone.
Yeah.
And it only seems to be BT who allows you to have the ability to make phone calls.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so if I sign up with PlusNet, I now cannot make phone calls.
Yeah. See, for home, that's not an issue because, in my opinion, home just doesn't need a phone line because you just mobile phone.
Yeah,
but do you guys not have phones? However, here, I mean, I guess I could have just a company mobile phone. It's not like hypothetically, if I wanted to, I could just say there is just a mobile phone that is just the shop number. That wouldn't be absurd.
You could do it on a SIP as well, so it literally just redirects from a landline number.
Yeah.
You could do that.
Although then I'm paying for the phone, so that's it.
Oh yeah, but you've already got the phone.
Sorry, I mean,
and then a mobile phone SIM only is £6.
Yeah, but however, then I'm paying for the phone line somewhere else, kind of thing.
Oh,
you're still going to have to pay for the phone line.
£6, not £16.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Because the full fibre broadband only package is £40, whereas with the phone line it's £49. I realise I'm comparing PlusNet to BT there, but they're functionally the same price, give or take like 2p or something right now.
Yeah, see, I want something simple, but also like the problem I've got is just I mentioned to you the other night that, you know, like my rent just went up.
Yeah.
And so now it's just like, so, you know, my rent just went up by like 40 or 50 quid, I think. And so now if suddenly I'm paying double the price for my broadband in the shop, suddenly I'm now having to find like 80 or 90 pounds a month extra on my bills. And I'm like, that's not a small hike in monthly outgoings, you know. That's why I'm trying to be a bit careful. Otherwise I'd be like, look, just buy it because it's what I want. It's what I want in here, you know.
Yeah, but it's also kind of a case of it's why I'm saying about maybe you should just go for the full fiber 100 package, which is functionally the same price. It's only a smidgen faster, but it's a full fiber package, so you get better latency on it, and it is still a smidgen faster.
Yeah,
and the price differential is less.
Yeah, and like I don't think it's going to be enough for me to be doing all of my cloud projects on. Although that much being said, let's say I started streaming music from it. That's going to be, I'm only going to be
That's
streaming.
128 kilobit.
Yeah, exactly. That's irrelevant. Let's pretend I used it for the video streaming thing. Plex, yeah.
Plex.
Let's say I started running a Plex server on it. That's going to be,
5
megabit per minute. Yeah. So that's, and consider, I've still got plenty left over. So, yeah, like as long as I'm not
and you're not going to be using that whilst you're in here streaming.
Yeah.
You're not going to be uploading video content from here whilst consuming video content somewhere else.
Yeah.
And if you were consuming video content in here while streaming, that'd be going over your local network.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, should definitely go to that then, at least, I guess.
Just because it is a full fiber package, it gives you slightly more download. Well, it doubles the download, gives you 10 megabit more upload. Yeah.
And ultimately, also, it gets me onto fiber hardware as well, which means subsequent upgrades from there will be very straightforward. Hypothetically, if I wanted to, there's not a doubt in my mind that I could call up BT and say, actually, could you bump me up to the 900 package? And they'll probably be like, sure thing, without actually changing anything. So, yeah.
Basically.
When they installed 500 in the apartment here, the installer hid the fact that there was no battery in the UPS by covering the UPS battery LED with electrical tape. Wow, that's well sketch.
Oh.
Yeah. Mega sketch.
Can
you just retain the copper for the phone line? Theoretically, yes, but then you'd have to pay for an extra service on that. So
it depends. It depends on who the installer is, because we still have a copper telephone line for our voice calls.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. But then you effectively have two lines then and two packages, surely.
No, just one. Because instead of our copper package being transferred onto our VoIP service, we just have an unregistered VoIP service, and because obviously they don't include voice calls on the VoIP setup, so we don't bother.
Yeah.
However, it's also a case of probably not a thing now, just because obviously our transfer to full fiber was 2019.
Yeah.
And BT are trying to get rid of copper lines by 2025. Which isn't going to happen.
No, absolutely not.
But they're certainly trying to kill all new copper line installs.
Yeah.
As of the end of this year? Which
makes sense, because they're really bad. Like all new builds seem to have horrendous internet because they don't put in enough cables.
Yes. Do you know why that is? I am reasonably good friends with the engineers that come visit us.
Okay, yeah.
And the reason they've said for that is because the developer will request a certain number of lines.
Right.
And say, we have X number of houses.
Yeah.
Invariably, BT will turn up, have billed for that number of lines, and then the developers will go, oh, actually, there's 9 times that number of houses.
Oh, I see.
Install 9 times the number of lines.
Yeah.
Also, we're not paying you.
Oh.
And BT goes, well, we are obliged by law to provide the lines. We'll provide the lines.
Yeah.
But all the equipment is splitting of splitting of splitting of splitting.
Yeah. That's horrendous, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel bad for bashing, I don't know who I was blaming for that, but certainly, the next time I hear someone going, oh, bloody BT, they didn't put enough lines in around here kind of thing, I'd be like, no, actually, it's the developers.
A lot of cases.
Yeah.
Or it will be a case of a development will have a BT install, and then the developers will infill a bunch of houses.
Yeah.
And then those lines effectively have to get split.
Yeah, that's terrible, man. I hope the same thing doesn't happen with fiber, basically, because every time we get a new broadband technology,
it seems more difficult to do that. The issue we have got, though, is that the fiber switches in the exchange are already tapped out.
Oh man, see, I was going to say, like, I'm just
And
hoping
BT
that
have
with the fiber
started
setup,
upgrading them.
yeah, I'm just hoping with the fiber setup that they go for such an overkill infrastructure that we've got that headroom for the next generation kind of thing, as opposed to installing for only what we need today, where it's just like right now it's easy to look at like gigabit broadband and be like, oh man, you're never going to need more than that. It's like, well, that's what we said about the last 5 different generations of broadband. No one's ever going to need more than this kind of thing. Like one day we'll all have 10 gig internet and we'll be complaining that stuff is taking a while, you know. So it's a case of, it's really short-sighted to install for this amount and assume that that will be enough today, kind of thing. Don't hold breath on overkill infrastructure. Yeah, don't get me wrong, I can see that's definitely a thing, but yeah.
I'm trying to find the article I was reading.
Is 3G still going on in the UK? Have they turned off the 3G networks yet?
Not yet. It is being switched off on a rolling thing, depending on which network you're on.
Okay,
but yeah, basically they're killing 2G and 3G.
Yeah, they're slowly killing it off, but it's not been a hard cut-off. I know there's quite a few countries where they just said nope and just switched it all off, which in a way, I mean, it's fine if you've got a modern phone, but I think there's definitely an issue where there's a lot of people with mid-range phones that weren't 4G ready. Or
I mean, you're still talking about devices that were sold earlier than 2010.
True, yeah. Or failing that, just bad phones, which case kind of sucks to be them.
Yeah.
But I think there's a couple of niche devices as well. Like I think one really good example is integrated systems. So
yeah, absolutely.
Like for example, I've had a couple of people recently who've bought dog tracker collars, where it's a dog collar that's got a little transceiver in it. So if the dog gets out the yard and runs off into the woods, they've got a low jack on the dog, and like that thing ain't gonna have a 4G transceiver in it, you know.
There we go. That's the article I wanted. Yeah. OpenReach extend UK pilot of 1.2 and 1.8 gigabit fiber to premise broadband. Then it was the comment that the yeah, sorry, I'm just trying to find the comment in there. Oh yes, as before, the challenge here is that OpenReach network is still using a gigabit passive optical network platform, which places limitations on how fast their packages can go before capacity becomes an issue. The GPON standard supports a capacity of each trunk line up to 2.5 gigabit downstream and 1.24 gigabit upstream, which needs to be shared between several premises.
Yeah, so like
the operator does have a plan to adopt 10 gigabit capable XGS PON technology, but they've not set a solid timetable for that.
Yeah,
and this is quoting directly from a website ISP review.
Yeah. See, if they can get that down the same fiber links by upgrading the equipment at each end, that's not the end of the world. But like one of the problems with copper is just like, man, we were on the limits of what copper could physically do a long time ago. I'm still astonished that we managed to get like fiber to the cabinet. I'm still astonished that they managed to pump like 100 meg broadband from the cabinet to the premises over copper. You know, because a lot of those certainly like in rural areas, a lot of those wires, they're not copper, they're like aluminium or something like that.
Yeah,
you know,
it depends on whether you're lucky and had it, and whether you've got the post-war aluminium upgrade. Sorry, the post-war aluminium lines, or you got an upgrade copper install after replacing the aluminium line, and whether you got the solid copper or whether you got the stranded copper.
Yeah. Big Clive tried live streaming on 5G from Glasgow and it was pants. Streaming.
It depends.
5G for a reliable connection is rough. It's incredibly circumstantial. And
the difficulty is that 3G, 4G, 5G are insufficiently tight in their specifications.
Yeah, the latency is too high.
Not overly, on what can be labelled and sold as 5G.
I see, yeah.
You can sell standard LTE as 5G.
Yeah.
If it has a speed over X.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, well, it's got the speed, but it's not actually 5G then, yeah.
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 That's the problem we've got, is there's a huge disconnect between what the full implementation of millimeter wave 5G provides and what is allowed to be sold as 5G. It was the same issue we had when LTE first came out.
Yeah.
That what got dubbed 3.75G could be sold as LTE.
Yeah.
Also, then there's a separate thing about LTE is not actually 4G. LTE is only 4G. Anyway, and packages, the technologies, networks that were not fully 4G compatible were able to be sold as 4G because they met the speed requirement in theoretical peak throughput.
Yeah. So they were selling a, you know, for the modern thing, there's a lot of 5G stuff out there that is selling as a 5G equivalent product. So 5G, but it's equivalent in speed, but the technology is not actually 5G, so it's not actually 5G.
Yeah.
Which is the core of the problem.
Yeah.
And like that's going to be an issue in that you know, potentially the actual benefits are not there, so it doesn't actually give real 5G performance.
Yeah.
But it also means that one day when the 4G networks get turned off, your 5G equivalent product is actually 4G and ain't going to work.
Well, no, it will still work because the network provider is doing the thing. It's on the network. It's on the
product
network
will be included.
side.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, it's on. Yeah. It's the network provider side, not the consumer device side. I'm not saying that this device is lying about being 5G. I'm saying that the cell tower is lying about being 5G.
Okay, I get you.
Therefore, it doesn't actually matter to me as the consumer with regard to it functioning.
Yes.
But it matters about me as the consumer having the expectations of what I can do with the technology.
Yes. So there's going to be a lot of people out there that are looking at their phones, seeing 5G written on it, and going, well, this isn't nearly as good as everyone said it would be. And it's like, yes, that's because you're not it says 5G, but that's not actually what you should be expecting. If you're standing under a millimeter wave transmitter on the side of a building, now you've got real 5G. However, also, as soon as you stand behind that bush over there, you're going to lose that again. Because,
But millimeter wave 5G was specifically designed to handle incredible device density, not specifically singular device throughput.
Yeah.
It was designed to stop the cell tower collapsing when there was 130,000 people at a music festival.
Yes, and that's going to be brilliant because anyone who's gone to an event will know that when you get to the event, your phone will fall over.
Yeah, the number one thing you need to do when event planning for large events is go, cool, contact the network providers, say we're running this big event, please give us an emergency node.
Yeah, and in addition to that as well, if you're attending an event, like if you're going to a music concert or a convention or something like that, and you're going with friends, arrange meetup points. So if you guys get split up, just say, if we split up and we don't know where each other are, go to here. And wait there until we meet up again. Ooh. Because trust me, you will not be able to rely on your phone. I don't care if the event says they've got really good broadband. It will fall over. It always has. I've been to a lot of events. It always falls over.
Yeah.
So yeah, as just a side note. So yeah. But yes. Well then. Life Pro Tips by Graham Lord. Yes.
Indeed.
All right. So I guess I'll get the Fiber 150 package for now then, because I'm feeling poor.
Yeah.
Because that's £1 extra than what I'm paying at the moment.
Yeah.
And just get onto the equipment. And I think what I might do is, I think I might go for that, not take the minutes deal, and just see how we get on. Because I can bolt on minutes after the fact. I can call up BT and say, look, actually I want to get the extra minutes deal and add that onto my package. They're always cool with that. So I can just run that and just see what my bill looks like. Last I checked, I was making enough calls to warrant having a bolt-on. However, I've not actually checked in on that for a long time. Might have changed. It might just be that phone calls are cheaper than they were, and it's no longer an issue. So yeah. What's Caradog's background? He seems to be very knowledgeable in all of this. Well, you've got a background with HTC and mobile phone technology in general.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of this knowledge stems from, isn't it? And like, while obviously you haven't been in that scene for a while, but you still follow it because you were.
Yeah.
So yeah.
basically that.
Yeah.
And then there's a case of there's the person that Cy linked me to as well, who runs an excellent blog if you like looking at the actual nerdy details of it. Because there was an article on there they were running through and saying about all of they were like, oh yeah, and there was a 5G install just down the road from me, so I went and took all of these pictures, and I spoke to the engineers, and they were happy for me to take pictures of the engineers of the equipment they were installing in the cabinets, and I identified which antennas they had and stuff like that, and I was just like, oh okay, that's yeah, that's some in-depth knowledge there. Jesus.
That's pretty good. Yeah. Gris says, last year at Bloodstock, you dropped your iPhone XR down to 3G and you had perfect signal all weekend because everyone with new phones could only do 4 or 5G and couldn't get signal. That's interesting. Do a lot of modern phones allow you to drop down network levels? I thought they didn't let you do that anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where is it?
You can't do it on Samsungs.
Lol. Yeah.
But if you go...
We're going to get our phones out now. That's entertaining for everyone involved. I'm interested to know how to do this just for reference.
Oh, I don't...
Network internet.
Yeah, it's under one of those.
Data saver. Oh, it's going to be under like something advanced, surely.
I can't remember where the option is. There we go. Right, yes. So, network and internet.
Yeah.
Tap on Sims.
Sims.
And then scroll down a bit, and then you have preferred network type, and that sets your PRL.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's really easy.
And then you can go 3G, 4G, 5G.
Yeah. So if you,
however, you can no longer lock the device to a network type, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. So you might have to set that again periodically, kind of thing. It might try and default back.
Oh no, it will retain that setting, but you can't lock a technology. Sorry, you used to be able to lock a technology. So say only use HSDPA. Or only use HSPUB.
Okay, yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Either way, yeah. Go to settings, network and internet, and tap on Sims, and you'll have the option there. That's a good top tip as well. So yes.
Well, you know what? Actually, yeah, you can do. You can go into the info, the testing screens, and you can select your PRLs.
Wow.
You then
that is verbose. Those are lots of letters.
Yes. So you can set your GSM, WCDMA, LTE, PRL. PRL, even not LL.
I want to look at the turf, ready for the herd. Had the hers, the verse, and then I had the dufta. Anyway. There's always something where people just like I'm a techie person, but there's always some times where someone can rattle off a load of letters and I'm like, yes, those are letters, alphabet.
Yeah, there's a couple of them which are hilariously stupidly long. Like the LTE, TSCDMA, CDMA, EVDO, GSM, WCDMA.
I see. Firephone says, Graham, why not look at the competition? Virgin, O2, EE, etc. There's no Virgin in the area, so they're out straight away. O2 and EE, for example, don't know, what are their offerings? Generally speaking, BT are always the best because they'll have the latest tech in the thing. And like, I used to be with TalkTalk, and like I know TalkTalk is super bad, so that's not a great example, but they're super bad. I went to BT. With BT, I've had no issues whatsoever. Apart from like that one time, if you'll remember, there was like 1 or 2 weeks when we were having trouble with the broadband during the streams. Like, that's the only time I've ever had a peep wrong with BT. They are incredibly consistent in my experience. And I get like, there's no peak hour issues with me. No matter what time of day it is, the broadband is the same speed. I don't have peak hour slowdowns because that was why I got sick and tired of TalkTalk. As soon as it started approaching peak hour slowdowns, my internet would just go boo down to a crawl. Whereas BT, that just doesn't happen with me.
Also, other thing...
I'm a big BT fanboy for that reason.
Yeah, the other thing for people to be aware of is that O2, EE, Sky, TalkTalk, etc., are using the OpenReach network. They have not done their own network, and they are only as good as the amount of money they're willing to pay.
Yeah.
So it's a case of, and they will only have the services generally 12 months after BT have them.
Yeah.
However, they also do run good deals a lot of the time, just because obviously they are effectively virtual network providers, so they can play loose and fast with their pricing.
Yeah. I think BT is not going to be the cheapest, but I'd kind of rather just buy right and buy once kind of thing, rather than, because like, I hate doing this. I hate sorting out providers and things like that. I despise doing this. So like for me, I would rather pay the extra £5 that BT costs or something like that, and know that it's just sorted and I don't need to touch it for the foreseeable future. So yeah. Do you get do BT give you a fixed IP? Might do if I had like if I got like a business line.
If you had a business package, yes.
However,
it comes with a fixed IP.
Yeah. However, the business package is going to cost additional extra, and like I'm not super fussed about having a fixed IP. It's very easy to work around that just with DNS, basically. So yeah, and in a way, I like having a dynamic IP because it means if there's a problem with my IP address, like it's been IP banned or something ridiculous like that, I can just reboot, you know. And like also like especially here because it's a public address or something like that, you know, if someone thought they'd get clever and start DDoSing me or something like that, I can be like, lol, I'll just change my IP address. So sometimes you're better off being dynamic just so you can and just have your DNS set up right. So yeah, I think fixed IPs are overrated, but also I'm not the kind of person that requires a fixed IP. So yeah. Static IP VPN. Possibly that, yeah. Or just good old Dyn DNS, you know. Yeah.
Would you care to load? The BT Business Broadband website just isn't loading its packages.
The BT website in general seems to be garbage. Like, if I don't know if it's still the case, but if you just try going to bt.co.uk or something like that, don't put in www or HTTPS, I still think that is just broken and doesn't direct properly.
No,
or bt.com. Yeah, fine.
Yeah, there was a little while because I posted in there.
Yeah, for ages, one of them, just like bt.com or something, would just not automatically pick up as HTTPS www.bt.com kind of thing, and it was kind of odd. But yeah.
Oops. Enter your postcode.
Very well.
Oh no, it's even worse. Would you like to be 3A, 3B, 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 3C?
Oh no! Like there's 3Bs and they don't even have different names on them. Like if it was 3B, Adamant IT 3B, and Calypso 3B, for reference, Calypso was the hair salon that was here before me, I would understand. But it's just 3B, 3B, and 3B. Which is the right one, Caradog?
What do the numbers mean, Mason?
Which one will allow me to have fiber?
Not the top 3B. Maybe the middle 3B?
What? One of them is 3 lowercase b, one of them is 3 uppercase b, and one of them is 3 superscript b, or something like that. 3B or not 3B?
Oh, interesting. It appears that Vodafone just don't support full fibre. Because they're saying on there, you must have a telephone number to have a broadband.
Fair enough.
Oh, but then it says you're got in a full fibre area. Oh, wow, their fastest package is a 200/100 package. No, a 227 package. What?
Wow, that's garbage, yeah.
227.
How much do they want for that, though?
227, which is that package. That's 30. And they want 30. Yeah, they want the same price. Yeah. It's identical pricing. Yeah. The pricing on full fibre looks like it is very much set by OpenReach.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair.
So I know there was comments again on RSP review about the wholesale price.
Because like you said, you know, their speed is only going to be as good as how much they're paying OpenReach. And so it's a case of if they're only paying OpenReach for 200 meg, then that's fine as long as they're not charging £100 for that.
Yeah.
You know, if they're charging, a competitive price for that low speed, then that's fine. So yeah.
The only reason I was interested in the business broadband is because the business broadband apparently offers up to 220 megabit. So it was a case of if the package speeds have higher uploads on the business ones, seeing what the pricing does.
Yeah, the higher uploads would be of interest to me because I have to admit, I thought that the uploads were higher in general.
Yeah.
I was expecting like 2 or 3. If I had like the 900 down package, I was expecting like 200 or 300 up.
Yeah. But as it says about this gigabit passive optical network,
because
the stream speed is halved on the effectively exchange equipment side.
Yeah, because like with fiber to the cabinet, it looked like we'd gotten into a mode where we were expecting like a 1:4 connection ratio,
which is pretty good.
Yeah,
and so, for just standard. Yeah. But then,
so if you had 900, that's why I was expecting to see like 200 or 300 because that would be approximately a 1:4 connection ratio.
Yeah.
Which is what we're currently accustomed to.
The problem, to a degree, is the fact that like Ethernet, broadband, for business, isn't that much faster than gigabit. I mean, there are 10 gigabit lines on it, but it's a case of they can't force businesses to pay £900 a month for gigabit Ethernet to get the synchronous speed. When there's a consumer package, it's 900, 400.
Yeah, I mean that's why I have consumer packages.
Where there's a consumer package, it's 900, 150, but you need 250 upload.
Yeah.
Well, guess you're paying £900 a month then.
Yeah. Oof.
So it's obviously from that perspective, it's intentional markets, product segmentation.
Yeah.
But it's then why the independent network builders like Fiber City, Giganet, and so on are kind of important on that front.
Yeah.
Because they're building synchronous networks, and their only packages are gigabit up, gigabit down.
Fair enough. Does that include Truly? Because
I don't know.
Yeah, Sai says I can get Truly here, 900, 300. I don't know who Truly is.
I presume they're a regional.
Yeah.
Is it TR?
TROOLI.
Yeah.
Truly.
Interesting.
Yeah, because I know there are a couple of oddball brands that were doing the rounds down in Blandford as well that were offering very aggressive pricing on fibre broadband. But I didn't pay too much attention just because it wasn't available in Shaftesbury yet. So I was just like, it's not available to me, I don't care, kind of thing. It's private network in Kent. I see.
Yeah.
Your fibre will be 350 at $49. See, I'd take that any day of the week. Because like 900 downstream is awesome, but I could live without it. But having hilariously high upload speeds is really cool, especially if you're a content creator like me.
Yeah, their package prices are quite high though. Just because that's £68, I think, broadband only. Yeah, that's £68 broadband only. Whereas BT is £60 broadband and telephone.
Yeah, but you get the high upstream with them.
But then you're paying effectively for that doubling of the upload.
Yeah, so it depends on if you want the upload. Yeah. But then on the flip side, their 500 package has got 200 up at 50 quid. Like that would be perfect. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
that's
500.
That's a much better ratio.
Yeah. See, like. Because I don't super care about downstream downloads in here, like as long as they're like 100-ish or something, 100 or 200, 500's fine. Yeah. Like 900 at home would be awesome because it just means that if I buy a new game on Steam and it's like, this is a 70 gig download, I can be like, guess I'll go make a coffee, and then it's done. Because like I've seen that once and it blew my mind. I was at Kao's house for Kaolan and he's got 900 down. And I needed to download something, and it was just like boop, and I'm like, what the hell,
But it was like my comment to you when I said about what can I do to back up, the stuff, and then I was just like, oh shit, It's actually just faster for me to sync it off of OneDrive than it is for me to recover locally.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, oh yes, I could recover locally from a hard drive, or I could sync it for OneDrive at 5 times the speed.
Yeah, we're getting this is why I'm interested in building my own personal cloud system as well, because I think we're entering a phase where cloud storage now makes far more sense than local storage in terms of like doing backups and stuff like that. You know, especially from a customer perspective, because expecting a customer to plug in their backup hard drive regularly and stuff is a tall order. I don't remember to plug in my backup hard drives regularly, you know. However, if you've got cloud storage, you don't have to do that. And broadband is now getting fast enough that it's not, you know, like cloud storage used to be horrendously slow, because back like in ADSL days, we might have had 20 megabyte down, but we had like maybe half a megabyte or a megabyte up.
Yeah.
So synchronizing cloud storage was horrendous. It was just, you know, it wasn't viable to back up to the cloud. Yeah. Whereas now it's, you know, if you've got gigabit broadband, you're approaching the speeds of a standard laptop hard drive, you know.
Yeah, because I can upload at a full 150 megabytes. Sorry, a full 150 megabit per second.
Yeah.
From home.
And like if you're downloading from your cloud storage, if you're downloading at 900 meg, again, you're basically saturating the write speed of a laptop hard drive.
No, more than that. My Steam downloads are slowed down, as in my broadband utilization reduces if I use my slow SSD.
Well, but I mean, if you're 900 down, that's going to be like what, approximately 90 megabytes per second.
Yeah,
because it's about a factor of 10.
But don't forget that that's reasonably well compressed data for Steam.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Actual Steam installs.
Yeah, once it starts decompressing,
I actually
and stuff like that.
reduced performance by installing to a slower SSD.
Damn, bro.
Reduced utilization of my broadband.
Yeah. However, at any rate, so the point is, cloud storage is the future. However, I don't want if cloud storage is the future, I don't want that to be on Google's servers. I don't want that to. Now, I'm not saying Google bad, blah, blah, blah. However, if we're going to start saying, okay, let's tell everyone to put their entire life onto the cloud, I want a world where we can run our own clouds. So, so that's why I'm super interested in running my own cloud server and trying to do everything I do today, all of the Google services that I use, Google Music and stuff like that. I want to reproduce that on a private server and see what that looks like.
Maybe.
However, but you can't even begin to think about doing that unless you've got a line that can be uploading at about 100 megs a second, because otherwise you're just going to have a really bad, otherwise it's just going to be really crap when you're remote. Because like right now, I mean, I've got 20 megabyte upstream, but even then, you know, if I wanted to, if I reformatted my computer at home and wanted to resync my cloud drive, suddenly I'm only able to download up like 17 megabytes per second, kind of megabits per second, which is, you know, real world, like 1.7 megabytes per second. That's pretty lame, you know.
So. It's also a case with obviously just stuff like this.
True, yes.
Because I can buy an enclosure for 20 quid.
Yeah.
A 2 terabyte drive for £100, 120 quid.
Yeah.
Which is...
Are you thinking in terms of we'll just carry our data with us all the time?
Kind of. It's a case of this is a dramatically safer way of storing 2 terabytes of photos, videos and music than on a 1 terabyte SD card.
Yeah.
And have this, and just every now and then you go, oh, I want to change the data that's on my phone, or I want to change the data that's on here. And you store 100 gig of data on the phone, and you just go and swap your folders around. Because 100 gig of data is still an awful lot of data.
Yeah, I still think streaming is the way forward, though. You know, it's
both.
Like, you know,
but a case of obviously just saying if you don't have that broadband infrastructure where you are, this is such a valid solution as well, though.
Yeah, agreed.
Just because it's a case of, whilst sure it's a bit inconvenient running a cable to your phone whilst you're holding your phone and stuff, it's a case of, given the fact that phones are 128 gigs of storage or 256 gigs of storage, if I put 50 gigs of storage of content on here and have another terabyte of content on here and just shuffle 50 gigs worth in and out as and when I want to change it. That's reasonably low effort and doesn't cost any more.
Yeah. It just feels like the software isn't there at the moment. It might be, and I just have lost touch with what it is, because that's the thing. Like, you know, I grew up in the iPod era. I grew up with 8GB iPods, which were not big enough to store my entire music library, but it would store all of my favorites. So I would shuffle music in and out of my iPod on occasion. So I was familiar with doing all of that. Whereas now, if I wanted to actually store a chunk of my music library on my phone for playback whenever I choose, I don't actually know how to do that.
I would also
what app would I guess there's a media player app that I could download to play my music.
Just open it in YouTube Music.
Can YouTube Music play from your local device?
Yeah. Or you just use the built-in media, or you just use Media Player.
Yeah, I guess.
Or VLC.
Yeah. Does that have the same functionality that, like, say, iTunes would have had in the day? Like, where you've got your playlists and stuff like that?
As far as I'm aware, because I don't do playlists.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I'd imagine you can make a 3MU? Was that a playlist file?
Don't know.
M3U? I can't remember. Whatever the playlist file was.
Yeah, so I remember there was a format for playlists.
You can make a literal playlist file in the folder and play that playlist file. I know you can do that.
Yeah. Yeah, don't know. Yeah, because that's the thing. It's just, like, obviously we're talking about various things here with, you know, broadband and cloud storage and what I want and stuff like that. But just in the back of my head, I haven't done it yet, but in the back of my head, I still want to go back to just having my own music library. Case in point, the other day, I was walking down the street and I was like, you know what? I'm in a Tesseract mood this week. So I'm listening to Tesseract. I'm like, you know what? I want to listen to their first album. I forget the title of it. And I went to listen to their first album, and it's been remastered because Tesseract changed their singer at some point. I can't remember at which point it was, but at some point they'd switched to a different singer. And their original album, they've re-recorded it with their new singer. And I'm like, okay, this is fine because their new singer is good and there are pros and cons to it, but this isn't the album I wanted to listen to.
That's the wrong YouTube.
And I just can't listen to the old one anymore because it's not on Google Music. Now,
what's the album called?
I forget. It's the hang on a minute.
Tesseract.
Let me look it up. Tesseract.
Altered State. That was the one you told me to listen to.
More albums. No. Altered State is a good one, but that's one of the newer ones. It's it's just I think it's just not there actually. I see it. I can't even see it on Google Music.
There's an album called Tesseract.
Yeah, I think it's the self-titled album. I just can't see it. I think it was the self-titled album. Either way, I can't find it there. Now, it's obviously, you know, it's their artistic choice to say, we want to remove this. Perhaps there's just bad vibes between them and their old singer for whatever reason.
Yeah.
However, I wanted to listen to Tesseract's self-titled album, Tesseract, and I can't because it's not there anymore. Now, if I'd had my own music library, doesn't matter what Tesseracts want, I have a copy of that album and I'm going to heckin' listen to it. But now I can't. And, you know, so this is the reason why I want to go back to having my own music library. And so, however, the problem is that the last time I was running my own music library was in the iPod era, where you were synchronizing your iPod via a cable. We don't do that anymore. I don't use iTunes. I don't even know if iTunes can still synchronize with a device, even if it's an iPhone. So, you know, you see what I mean? We end up in this problem where, So,
I mean, the way I would do it is approximately like that.
I see. Yes, you have acquired it via means.
Yes.
So yeah.
And then I go, oh, I want to listen to this.
The Napster option per se. However, well, that's how we did it in the day. But But the point is, it's just like I want to set up a system where I can have my own personal MP3 library that is hosted on a cloud server, and I have an app on my phone that will stream that. Because even though we've got phones with like 128 gigs plus of storage,
Show me the bottom
I'm
item
still of the opinion that with a mobile device, if you're storing the data on the device, you're doing it wrong. That's still my opinion. If you're storing anything on your phone, you're doing it wrong.
Sure, okay.
Why do you think that's bad or wrong? Or just simply because you're like, well, we can just synchronize it. We have the storage.
Because I can do that and then go, pow, I have what I want on my phone.
I guess.
Also, eventually, you're welcome.
I take it you've just acquired Tesseract's debut album, Tesseract by Tesseract.
The entire discography.
Yeah, featuring the previous singer of Tesseract, whose name I've forgotten, who I believe they had a falling out with, but I don't know the details of it.
Their name was not Tesseract.
Tesseract 1. Yeah, I think that might have been it. 1, yeah. Yeah. Apple Music, don't think iTunes is still around. Yeah, I think you're correct, yeah. Nikolai, hello. What you need, Graham, is an Apache setup as your media server and a Substream as the client app. You do this exact setup and it works seamlessly. Interesting. I'm not going to remember that now. However, I might tap you at some point and be like, what was that thing that you were using?
Give me one second.
Yeah. How much do you listen? I listen to 70% the same music. No need for Spotify. I know that feel. I got a bad habit of doing the same thing.
You're terrible people.
Yeah, I would still retain Google Play Music probably, just because. Well, I pay for YouTube Premium, which includes music now.
Does it?
Yeah.
I need to whinge it.
Either way, check your subscription. I'm paying one subscription for both.
I do not have YouTube Premium.
Yeah.
I need to whinge at Google to get them to give me the grandfathered plan rate from Google Play Music.
Yeah. Like I might be paying a bit extra, but I can't remember how. I might be paying like $12.99 a month or something like that. However, I'm paying $12.99 a month, and I have YouTube Premium and Google Play Music.
What were they using on Apache?
Apache and Substreamer.
Oh, Substreamer.
Yeah.
I have not heard of Substreamer.
Yeah.
No.
So yeah.
But you've got various options for stuff if you wanted to do that, because you've got
So
Subsonic.
Yeah. There's not a doubt in my mind that there's apps out there. I just haven't looked
Headphones,
them up.
I think, as well.
Yeah.
Sonar.
Yeah. Liam in Wales says, what's wrong with local storage? My beef is just that...
Yeah, as options you can add on.
Yeah. Basically, it's just a case of, like, with modern technology, I feel like we have grown out of the requirement to manually sync our phones, to be plugging in cables and stuff like that. You know, this device has a broadband internet connection. I should be able to pick it up and just have what I want, whenever I want, at any time, in any place. That's how these things work. That's how Google Play Music works. I can stand in a field and listen to anything that's available on Google Play Music. So I want my home cloud setup to be able to do the same thing, assuming I have a copy of the music in my library.
That's the main part, isn't it?
Now, I suppose to an extent, a large music library is, what, 50 or 60 gigs, realistically, unless you're one of those nerds that wants to store everything in lossless. I'm not super fussed about lossless.
MP3s are lossless.
Good MP3 is fine. Good MP3 is good enough for me. Or OGG, or whatever you want to do. One of my friends the other day, we were talking about, he called an OGG file an OOG file. I mocked him incessantly and said, it's OGG Vorbis, you peasant. Anyway, whatever your thing of choice is.
Of all the things!
Yeah. Anyway, I was like, it's double G. How did you get OOG out of that? Anyway, yeah, my point is, compressed is fine with me if it's good compression, because it's going to be imperceptible to my idiot ears. However, a large music library is still going to fit on a modern phone. So one could argue that I don't need to stream because I could just store my entire library on my phone, local storage anyway. So that is an argument. But then also just, I don't know, I want to be able to just get a CD, put it on my computer, and not have to sync my phone again. I just want it to be there, you know. So, yeah, I don't know.
Yes.
50 or 60 gigs is gigantic for 256 files. Exactly that. I don't think my library ever got past 30 or 40 gigabytes. And that was mostly in Apple AAC, I think, because I was an iTunes boy for a long time. So I just had everything in AAC. But I know it's not, if you have a big library, I know it's not difficult to break 50 or 60 gigabytes. So I'm kind of trying to be realistic. But even then, if you got a 120 gig phone is basically the minimum these days.
Yeah.
And a 50 or 60 gigabyte music library would easily fit on that. So the point is, even if you have a big library, you're still going to be able to locally store it. So one could argue that I am being stupid and I should just locally store everything.
Also, load.
How can I play vinyl over cloud? Buy the CD. Sorry, that was rude. But yeah, no, buy the CD. You can do your own server setup for streaming your library from... yeah, pretty much. That's the plan. Your old WD NAS system for about 6 years allows you to stream over the internet anywhere in the world. Yeah, that's kind of what I want, but I don't like NAS systems. I would rather have an actual discrete server running, like, preferably Windows. I guess Linux could do it, and I know NAS drives are basically running Linux anyway, but I don't like NAS drives because as soon as it goes obsolete, they just tend to age very badly, in my experience. Whereas if you're running an actual discrete server, as soon as your software is out of fashion, you just put new software on it, you know.
That's the main thing.
Yeah. If you're on a plane, it's better to have it on the phone. That makes sense. However, I'm a Britbong and I don't do planes. I've not been on a plane since I was approximately 9 years old, and I don't
honestly
remember any of it.
expected you to just say, I've not been on a plane.
Well, as I said, I've only been on a plane once, and I was like maybe 9 years old. I don't remember any of it. So other than that, yeah. Dan was jesting about the vinyls. That's fair. Now I don't feel bad about being rude in my response.
Interestingly,
saw a video on a server set up for your own server. I think it was Darko Audio who said it. Yeah, like there's not a doubt in my mind that this setup is out there and there's lots of people who have done tutorials on it. That's the kind of thing I need to go and look up on. But I haven't done it yet because I feel like there's no point in doing it unless you have a decent internet connection for it to sit on. Otherwise, just using a mainstream service is going to give you a better user experience. You can roll your own NAS with something like TrueNAS. Yeah, that is probably what I would end up doing. Although that much being said, the server realistically is probably going to end up being Windows because realistically speaking, once I've got fiber broadband in here, the plan is to build a server. I say that in air quotes because I don't know what shape that's going to take. That has a reasonable amount of horsepower. Yeah, but it's going to be running whatever my cloud stuff is, and I also want it to run like a Minecraft server and probably whatever server for another game that my friends are playing at any given time, Killing Floor 2 or Divine Cybermancy or something like that, you know. So I'd probably end up running Windows just because that would give me the versatility of just running whatever I hecking want, you know. But yeah, I really want to get back. I really want to do a Minecraft server. However, I don't want to do that until it's running on my own hardware, just so I know that it's not something I'm paying for per se, and it can just sit there indefinitely, even if no one uses it. It can just sit there, so every time I'm in the mood for Minecraft, it's there.
Pretty sure there's still the copy of the world files from that one we did like 5 years ago.
Yeah, probably. I think they were. I think the world files are broken though. But yeah, I'm frustrated that that setup should have been better, but I don't know. I want to do a I want to do a lightweight Minecraft server that is...
So we effectively started rolling our own mod pack.
Yeah, we did. And we did have a reasonably lightweight server running.
Yeah.
And that was a much better experience.
Yeah, because it was also a case of we explicitly picked stuff that was on the newest at the time build.
Yeah. And I think Minecraft development has slowed down a lot, I think, in that most of the new stuff that's coming out is now all exploration. So a lot of modders are not really fussed about going to new versions of Minecraft. There's not really anything in them for the Java community. Because it all includes the adventure stuff, which most modders just don't really care about.
Yeah.
Including myself. All the quality of life stuff that we do care about is basically done.
Yeah. To a degree, from my perspective, it's just annoying that the Java base game kind of thing wasn't just rebuilt and in modern Java, if that makes sense.
Possibly. I don't know enough about the problem with Minecraft Java to resolve this issue. We both know that Minecraft Java has a problem where throwing more horsepower at it doesn't seem to make it go faster.
It's also...
What I really want to test though is memory performance, because recently, the last time I was playing Minecraft Java, a friend of mine also had a reasonably powerful computer and was complaining about poor performance. And when I went to the same area, I wasn't getting poor performance. I'm like, seems fine to me. However, I'm not sure, but it's entirely possible that he wasn't running XMP or just he had slow memory. So I'm wondering if it's memory performance that is what it needs. And if you pump more memory performance into it, that helps. But just a side note. Anyway. But yeah.
The only solution to poor Minecraft performance is RAM overclocking.
Well, that's it. That would be interesting because throwing more CPU and GPU at it doesn't work. We've both experienced this. Where we're playing modded Minecraft, we're down to 30 FPS, and neither our CPU nor our GPU are maxed out. So why the low frame rate? And if you throw more gigabytes of memory at it, that doesn't solve the problem either. So what is bottlenecking it? But yeah, obviously it's a Java issue, but surely there must be that you can brute force any problem if you know what it is it wants more of. But we don't know what it is it wants more of. But yeah. Do you create structures or automated farming systems? Bit of both. I like to do a little bit of building. I'm not like a city builder, but I like to build just a really nice house. And I like to build machine systems in that house as well. So I like a little bit of both. I don't go full thing, but yeah.
I was going to say the last time I remember was the one you built as a tree house with all the solar panels.
That was really cool. I missed that server.
Ages ago.
Yeah. That was probably that was one of our very early forays into modded Minecraft, and that was one of my favorite servers, I think. It was all very new back then, and we hadn't,
solar panels and the progression through solar panels was like the only thing that ever made me remotely interested in playing Minecraft. Just because I find Minecraft as a concept completely pointless.
If you're not into building, you will inevitably just not get on with Minecraft. You need to learn to be a builder, or you will just get bored.
To me, building must serve a function. And you can fulfill that function within a few hours. And it's just like... Now I'm just building stuff for the sake of building stuff for the sake of building. And it's just like...
You need to start learning to have visions for building a house in a specific way or a house in a specific vision, so you have a point to be building it. Otherwise, you'll get bored of it.
Or it's a case of, or I could just play something else.
All that. Firefriend says, "Is this week's video still coming?" No, there's been no video this week. I've done the review for the Insta360. That is recorded and I need to edit it, and I just didn't edit it this week. I think I kept thinking I was going to do a retake of certain sections or add more into it. I think mainly the thing that threw the spanner in the works was I bought. I think were we talking about the Elgato? Yeah, we were.
We talked about the Elgato
last week. We talked about the Elgato webcam and the Dell that uses the same sensor. And so I bought one because it was like £100. So I bought one. It's crap.
Did you take it home and use it at home?
Yes.
And was it functionally the same?
It was slightly better, but it was still just horrendously overexposing, and it was overexposed again. This camera makes me believe that the HDR on the Brio and the Insta360 does actually do something.
Yeah.
Because on this camera, I cannot get it to not overexpose the highs on my face. Now, sure, I'm a pasty dude, so it is difficult to not overexpose my face without plunging everything else into darkness. But I literally could not get this thing to give a picture that I was satisfied with. And like, if it was just a standard webcam, I wouldn't be upset about that. However, because it's a fancy streamer webcam and it's just like raw video, zero compression, state-of-the-art Sony sensor, Elgato prime lens, Elgato flash memory, true HD, it hypes itself up so much, and it's just a bog standard webcam. And that's why I was so like I think it was Tuesday evening, I was ranting in the exclusive Discord room about this thing. That's why I was so angry with this thing, because it hypes itself up so much and it's just an ordinary webcam. The only saving grace is that it can do 1080p 60 FPS, which is above average for a webcam. Most webcams top out at 720p 60. And I was so angry that just after all its talk, and now for its price point, that makes sense. But it was also the fact of like the Brio gives not just the exposure and stuff like that, but like the actual detail. I showed screen cap from this and a screen cap from the Brio, and the Brio has more detail in it.
Yeah.
And this is the same Brio that got destroyed by the Insta360, So I bought this being really worried that Elgato's camera would be able to match the Insta360 at half the price. No such concern.
Yeah.
The Insta360 Link demolishes this thing. Now, sure, it's double the price, so it better be better. But rest assured, the Insta360 Link is worth every penny because it actually demolishes everything.
Yeah. The comparison I still want to do is to that.
What, the Insta360 to that?
Yeah.
Well, we kind of did that last week, but in a very informal way.
Yeah.
And obviously, this guy's going to win because it's got a real lens on it and can do depth of field.
But that's kind of the point. To kind of show that.
Yeah.
Not necessarily as a part of a review or anything like that. Just to show that in kind of a case of the way that the cameras differ. That's kind of my thing. Just on that is just.
I think in raw detail, like if you took the mirrorless and you set it up in such a way that it has no depth of field, so infinite focus, so flat image, infinite focus,
or certainly
take
very close,
take away all of the quote unquote advantages of using the mirrorless camera with changeable lenses. I think we would probably find that the actual level of detail at 1080p, because obviously this thing does real photographs, which the Insta360 obviously can't. At 1080p, I think we would probably find that the level of detail is probably very comparable. However, because the mirrorless can do the depth of field and stuff like that, it's always going to give many, many more advantages in other ways. So I don't think it's a useful comparison for that reason.
But I think that's kind of, that's kind of the point. Is showing where, or kind of showing how you make the picture better. Because it isn't just about how sharp it is. It isn't just about what resolution it is. It isn't just about what the exposure is. I think that's more the point, kind of, to me. It's just a case of just that side-by-side comparison.
I think
it's just that. It's just purely a case of, okay, so making the image look nicer now, So say we were planning a new product. Okay, what would I replace the Insta360 with? What's it need to do to be better? Oh, does it need to be physically larger? Does it need to have a different focal range? What does it need? And kind of that's how I'm viewing it. Not
That makes sense, yeah.
not a case of what makes this product bad or what makes this product good, but what makes better than this product.
Yeah.
What enhances the subjectivity of a nice picture.
Yeah, that's very fair.
That's more how I'm viewing it. As a webcam, what enhances the subjectivity of nice picture.
Yeah. I think the reason why I didn't edit the Insta360 video is I feel like there's more to say that I haven't said of exactly that. What is making this a good webcam? Because I have recorded a video that demonstrates that the Insta360 Link is a very good webcam.
Yeah.
However, what I really want is to portray why it's a better webcam. And that's why I haven't edited the videos, because in the back of my brain, I'm like, no, I need to reshoot this again from scratch. I've already done a reshoot on that. So I spent 2 days and I'm just like, I don't want to reshoot. I just want to edit the video and get it done. But at the same time, it's not telling the story that I want it to.
Yeah.
And so I would be very interested in doing that. So what I might do in that case is the other video that I've got in the works is I've been working on full body tracking for virtual reality. And I might have enough to do that video this weekend. But no, that I want to get that signed off by some other people first. I want their sign off that they are happy with my portrayal of it for other reasons that I won't go into because it's complicated. So yeah, basically though, I'm going to need to record something else. There's stuff in the pipelines, but all the stuff that I've been working on has been delayed. But yeah, I agree. I think I was just going to send this straight back, but I think I think I should reshoot the video and we should do some comparisons and figure out what's wrong. One of the other things that's wrong with this one, I think is firmware, basically, is the anti-flicker on it just doesn't work. Basically, the anti-flicker does not work. So in order to get it out of a position where it's overexposing, you just end up with horrendous flicker, because like these lights are pretty flickery, so it's rough, but even still, like most people are probably going to have some mains flicker on some lights somewhere and need the anti-flicker to be on. And so if the anti-flicker on the camera doesn't work, but then you're stuffed.
These aren't flickery. At least not for that.
True, but these are. So yeah.
Then again, I'm also used to us just washing this bench in these and that, so the flicker becomes kind of a non-issue. So yeah. True.
However, the thing is just like both the Brio and the Insta360 can find a point where the anti-flicker is dealing with the flicker from the lights and not overexposing or underexposing, whereas the Elgato, it could not. I tried. I spent an hour tinkering with the settings on auto and manual. It could not find a position where it was neither flickering nor overexposing. That was the problem with it. So yeah, it would be interesting to find out, like, is that just a firmware issue? Because the lens on it is massive. It's got a massive lens. So it should be good, right? You know. So yeah. Fender says, wonder if it's safe to assume that the Dell version of the webcam will have similar performance. This came up.
I think I want to at least see it.
Yeah, I'd love to try it out. However, you know, like I dumped £115 or whatever this cost on this, and I'm like, I really don't want to keep spending money on webcams that I'm probably not going to use.
Yeah, but you can just send that straight back.
Yeah, I can send this one back, and I'm going to.
Yeah.
But like, I don't want to do that with the Dell. I don't want to keep doing that with the Dell one as well, because also like I don't want to keep sending stuff back on my Amazon account because that starts causing problems if you keep doing that.
But 2 out of 300 and something orders a year.
I don't know what they're counting though. I don't know if they're counting the return ratio or just number of returns per year kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'd rather not play that game basically. Also because technically it screws over the seller. So I try not to do it unless it's legitimately a bad product. Because
but if it's sold by Amazon, if it's one that's literally listed sold by Amazon,
I can never tell these days.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, You can get the Dell one cheapish, but is it worth it? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Sai says ratio is the key. 6% or under the return rate, or you get screwed. Yeah.
A 200mm f2.8. What? Your camera was like 20 meters away from you. That seems a bit much.
Yeah, 200mm. That's quite a long. That's quite a long way.
I will. If you bear with me 1 second.
Yeah.
To just quickly demonstrate. We are approximately 3 meters away from the camera. That's 100mm, so it'd be twice as close as that.
Yeah. I think that might not have been quite what you expected, or did you literally have the camera on the opposite side of the room? But yeah. See, Liam, could you do a quick experiment, Caradog? What's the shutter speed at the moment? Is it 1/100?
100, yeah, 1/100.
What happens if you set it to 200? Do we get flicker? Because technically that's
still because 200. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
See,
yeah.
This is the other thing. This is the other thing that confuses me. Why do we get flicker? Because that's still a multiple of 50.
Yeah, but don't forget, it needs to be a multiple of the. It needs to be a multiple of.
Turn that off now because yeah. Sorry, everyone. Yep. Okay.
It needs to be a multiple of the lights rate, and the lights rate doesn't have to be 50, does it? Because it's not mains.
Oh, I see.
It's not mains frequency referenced.
Yeah.
I can't remember what am I looking for. The driver, the PWM in the driver doesn't have to be mains reference specifically.
Yeah. I see. Okay. So there will be another frame rate somewhere that is another multiple. But
you'd need to know what the frame rate of this is.
It may well be far enough out that it's outside of a useful range.
Yeah. Because in theory, hold on.
Yeah. Because this was the thing, that was what was annoying me, is why can't I go to 1/200 and increase or decrease?
Because even at like 4,000.
Yeah.
And so it's just a case of stepping through all of these, you still get that flicker.
Yeah.
And then it stops at 100. Comes back at 80, still there at 60, gone at 50. So it's just a bit weird as well.
Yeah.
There at 40, gone at 30, gone at 25, gone at 20. But I think it's a case of it's to do with the frame rate.
Yeah, at this point we're slow enough that it just can't see the flicker anyway.
Yeah, but I think it's not actually specifically the flicker of the lights to the shutter speed. It's to do with the frame rate to the shutter speed to the lights, and it's that 3-way ratio.
Yeah. Well, suffice to say, the Elgato didn't know what to do with that, and the other webcams did.
And then to create a completely confusing mess.
This is my transitional phase. I don't know where I'm going with this joke. All right, so meanwhile, back at 100. Okay, there we go.
Yeah, back at a true 60 FPS.
Very well. Fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anywho, yeah.
But yeah, it's a case that just saying about like the refresh rates for stuff. I remember for some, it was only a thing with CRTs, but like I could see CRTs refreshing at 75 hertz. Like I could actually see the refreshes.
Yeah. But
with LCDs at 60, not a problem. Because of obviously the fact that they're effectively sample and hold, as opposed to opposed to a scanning phosphor flashing.
Yeah.
Effectively. And it was just funny that I could see that difference. And like I could see, you know, the old tube batten lights, the old ones of those, the ones that had been replaced since the late 90s.
Yeah.
I could see all of those going.
Yeah, well, the older ones, you know, they're down at 50 hertz, so it's not that
just
fast.
Like, oh,
yeah.
Horrid.
At any rate, though, yeah, so that's the reason why there's been no video this week, basically, is that the one that I was expecting to do was the Insta360, and just for reasons, it just didn't get done. And even now, I was going to edit it this weekend, but having talked to you about this, I'm just like, oh, I don't know what to do. Part of me is tempted to throw it out there and just throw it out there as a review, and then we do an additional video that says, we recently looked at this camera, what else is out there, and what actually makes a good webcam at the moment? How do we solve the web? Because the webcam problem is actually an interesting one. Because the reason why webcams suck is that there's no in-camera processing in a meaningful way. And this is one of the reasons why the Insta360 is so good, is that it is doing in-camera processing. It is actually processing the image in camera, then sending it down over a USB link. Yeah. And there's basically, to my knowledge, I don't think there's any other webcams that are doing that. Yeah. And that's how the Insta360 is getting such a good picture. And it's USB 2. Like, this is the thing. This thing is USB 3, no compression. So I expected it to not have all of the compression artifacts that the Logitech Brio has. But it still does. Yeah. Whereas the Insta360, that's just got a 4K drone camera sensor in it. And it's got a built-in processor, so it can process the signal. Then it does modern compression that fits down a USB 2 bus. Yeah. Was it brilliant? Was it a half-inch sensor? Half-inch, yeah. I'd say half-inch because I know there's asterisks on that. That's half-inch if it were full frame, but it's cropping to 16:9. Yeah, it's also a ratio thing and so on. Yeah. Yeah. So yes. Yes, the shallow depth of field is through what's called the aperture. And basically it's a case of just, this is a different lens. But that is, if you were looking at camera lenses for full cameras like this one is, that would be the F number. And basically a case of the smaller the number, the larger the aperture, which then gives the shorter range in which things are in focus for. Okay. So you then get more depth of field on it because the range that is in focus is smaller. Yeah. It's why if you need glasses or something, squinting means you can see better because the aperture is reducing. Oh. I'd never considered that. Yeah. It's why also you can use a sufficiently small aperture to focus an image without any optics. Huh. It's how pinhole cameras work. Yeah. I always thought that when you squinted at something, that was just you trying really hard. You know, it was just literally just straining your eyes to focus a bit better. Whereas it's just like, no, you're actually effectively changing the optics of your eyes. Huh. Very well. Very good then. Yeah. 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 However, we've got less depth of field than we normally have because normally we're shooting on a prime lens, which has got a it's a f1.8. Yeah. Whereas at the moment you've got your the zoom lens. Yeah. Yeah, which is f4. Yeah. Is there a reason why you switched? Oh no, this lens was giving a better picture. Or was the other? Well, it was just a case of because it gives us less depth of field. Okay, it means that if we focus here for the front of the bench, we can have most of the bench sufficiently in focus. The depth of field and have us in focus. Yeah, the depth of field was very nice and arty, but it was actually not very useful when we were doing stuff on the bench and wanted everything in focus. Yeah, it's a case of if it was just us sitting here like today, using it on the 50mm prime, the 1.8 would have been fine. Yeah. It'd have been absolutely fine because obviously we could focus for roughly here and we're only really moving about this much, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, it's why this box is still mostly in focus. Our faces should be sharp and the background will be reasonably sharp. Yeah. Well, like the Two Guys Talk Tech thing up there. Yeah. Like on the Prime, that is blurred. And now it's more or less in focus. Not perfectly, but it's mostly in focus. So yeah. Yeah. Yeah, very well. So yes, Chris Herford just got online. What did you miss today? Everything, because we're probably only here for another 10 minutes. Sorry, but we've been waffling about internet, we've been waffling about Windows, and we've just been waffling about webcams and a little bit of photography. But yes, at any rate, yeah, there's no video this week. I'm gonna see if I can get my full body tracking video done this weekend. and get that signed off by basically I'm building full body trackers that are powered by Slime VR, and some of the Slime VR moderators are a bit touchy about YouTubers making videos about their stuff, because they've had people who have made videos about Slime VR tracking when their trackers are not set up properly, so are not giving a good representation of what it's capable of. So they get a bit touchy about it, because yeah, they've had people who've come in and made videos and been like, it's not bad, but it's not as good as this, and they're like, you didn't have it calibrated properly. So I'm trying to make a video, and then I want them to sign off of it and say, yeah, we're happy that this is a realistic representation of what the hardware can do. So, but if they're happy with that, then I can smash that out. And I think it's not a repair video, but I think it's an interesting video because it talks about VR and different approaches and alternative ideas to VR tracking, basically. I think it's interesting anyway. But yeah, however, also I should just bash out a simple repair. But then also all the other ones that I was thinking of got put on hold, and just nothing lined up this week, basically. So in the end, I was just like, sod it, there's no video this week. It is what it is. Sorry, folks. But there's lots in the pipeline. So that's it. Right. Cider, Caradog livens up and Graham slows down. I mean, a little bit. Do you hit a Ballmer curve? Probably. Yeah, I don't think I have a Ballmer curve. I just slow down.
Is your performance just?
Yeah, yeah. I'm just linear down. Yeah, like I've tried the whole thing before. Like I've tried, like back at the time when I was actually practiced at playing bass guitar, I tried the thing of like having a couple of drinks and then playing bass, and I was just like, I can't play while I'm drunk. It doesn't work. So, you know, anytime people are just like, oh, he can play, but only when he's drunk, it's just like, that doesn't work for me. So. Oh, yeah, we bashed on about SSDs as well.
Ballmer Peak. Yeah, there you go. But yes, it's...
yeah, that's just the fact that it's just a ooh, boop, you know.
However, it's a delicate effect requiring careful calibration. You can't just give a team.
Just read it from the start for people who don't know what the Ballmer Peak is. Take it away.
Yeah. Oh.
Hang on.
Just share it.
Oh yeah. Stick a link to the thing in the chat. You've got the chat open. The Ballmer Peak is the theory that as you get drunk, there's a specific point where you're just drunk enough that suddenly your ability peaks because you're hyper focused.
And however, because you don't have the inhibitions of considering, oh, is this a bad idea?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe I shouldn't do this, and so on. You simply have the let's try the idea.
Yeah. So yeah, and I fully believe that the Ballmer Peak is real, but I don't think anyone can hit it. If I can
certainly
hit
not
it,
in any sense of consistency.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if I can hit the Ballmer Peak, I don't know where it is. So, as an Aspie, you're always hyper-focused on anything but what you're doing. Yeah, sadness. Sag. Mine's after 2 drinks. By 5, you can't see your own ass. Can you at any normal time, though? Fender or an Ibanez, Farron. I've got my electric bass is a 5-string Warwick. However, that's been in the cupboard for quite a long time, just to keep the dust off of it. I've got a Grossi acoustic bass at the moment, which is the one that's in the background on my live streams. But I basically haven't picked that up for a while. I picked it up the other day and was just like, I've forgotten all the tabs that I knew. It's on my list of things I want to actually try and remember. I need to retrain my tabs, but one of the other problems is like the last time I was playing, I had an iTunes playlist, which was the playlist of songs that I knew the tabs for. But like, I need to get my iTunes library up so I can bring up that playlist, remake it somewhere else, so I can actually remember the songs that I previously knew. And then I can look up the tabs and be like, there we go, it's all coming back. Because it'll probably come back to me, but I need to remember the songs that I used to know how to play. So yes.
It's okay. You can play Muse just by having background music and then going.
Oh no! Don't. That ruined me. As a fellow business owner, have you noticed any slumping this year versus others? Not really. But then I don't know how effective I am as a basis of comparison. You know, because obviously, what with the YouTube channel and stuff like that, there is an inherent advantage of that. Our general work is high, but also I enjoy being the most technical shop for a reasonably high radius. Which is not to say that I'm the best or the fastest, but I approach the most difficult repairs of anyone in the area. I'm not aware of anyone nearby who does board level repair, is what I'm saying. There might be some out there who would just work off the radar. I'm not saying I'm the only one who can do it by any sense of the imagination, but certainly Joe Public isn't aware of them. So there's that. So so yes, but no, I haven't noticed any meaningful thing. YouTube revenue is a little bit down at the moment, but then weirdly it was high during January and February, which was weird. Normally you see a big slump in January, February for YouTube revenue, and it was actually at a high for me. And now for like March, revenue is down at the moment, which is why it's also very annoying that I haven't put out a video this week, because that doesn't help. But yeah, it's not at a problematic level by any stretch of the imagination. It's still within parameters. It's just at the bottom end of the parameters. So yeah. Corey says, I've got a fairly new Dell Inspiron laptop with the trackpad jumping and freezing. Is this a common problem? I wouldn't say so. Does it coincide with when you type on the keyboard? Because there are some modern laptops, mainly HPs though, where when you give keyboard input, it disables the trackpad. And there's like a 1 second delay before the trackpad comes back on again. So if you go and then try and move the mouse immediately, you'll find the mouse doesn't work. It's very annoying. I would check the Dell website to see if there is newer trackpad software available and go from there. So yeah, update drivers, yeah. But I haven't tried a brand new Dell for a couple of months, so they could have changed it by then. That's the thing about laptops, they always change them. There's always a newer model. So, Install the Dell Support Assistant to make sure drivers are up to date. I wouldn't personally. I don't like automatic driver updaters. I'd just go to the Dell website and download it from there. Most of the time it's not a driver problem. No, but a different trackpad driver may behave differently. However, also, because it's a new laptop, I'm kind of working on the assumption that there's no physical issues here. If the laptop was like a year or 6 months old, I'd be saying I would try cleaning the trackpad. Microfiber cloth, glass cleaner, spray the cloth with glass cleaner, wipe down the surface of the laptop. And also have a good look to see if there's any grime, because like your hands sweat. This is just a fact. Your hands and your fingers sweat. It's gross. You get sweaty grime on your laptop and it goes down into the cracks. This is what happens. Humans are gross. And so over time, you'll get that down the sides of the trackpad and that will cause false input and stuff like that. 6 months or like a newish laptop is a bit young for that problem to start happening, but maybe you just have sweaty hands. I don't know. So just a thought. Seems to be intermittent. Updated the BIOS, but no drivers for trackpad. Yeah.
Obviously, the other thing as well is send it back and get a new one.
Maybe if it's that bad, I guess. But
I mean, I would be doing that.
Yeah.
I would be doing that reasonably soon, just because it's a case of I don't want.
Yeah, if it's in warranty,
in warranty. Just get it sorted.
One of my MacBooks that I owned once, from when it was new, it had an issue where the trackpad wasn't stuck down properly and it was lifting slightly in the bottom right corner. And I never did send it back because I didn't want to. I was like, I don't want to be without it. It's my new laptop. It's my baby, you know. And that trackpad sticking up at the corner was a problem for the entire duration of my ownership of that laptop. And in the later years of my ownership of that laptop, I cursed myself for not having just taken it back and said, the trackpad sticks up in the corner. Give me a different one.
Yeah, I would have just done that basically straight away.
So for that reason exactly, if the trackpad is actually causing an issue and software doesn't seem to be resolving it, that's not a terrible idea. Is just send it back.
Yeah.
And get a different one. So yeah, just a thought. Humans are gross. Confirmed aliens.
Confirmed Gralians.
Confirmed aliens are Graham. something clitter twat. What have you spotted?
Just the window for the build. Build planned between now and December 2026.
All right, that's not very useful then. Less than 6 months old. Did drop a little bit of water on it a while ago, but wiped it straight off. Yeah. The problem is, I don't think the trackpad is going to be meaningfully removable on a modern Dell Inspiron. Like if it was a MacBook or something like that, you can take it apart and you can literally lift the trackpad out and clean all around it. But on a Dell, I think it's going to be fixed in. So I don't, not sure. But then also, if it's that subtle, warranty probably won't catch it. So in which case, you could just warranty it. But yeah, just a thought. Easy to get to, bottom off, battery out. Yeah, you could have a look. If you can get to the back of the trackpad without breaching any warranty stickers, you could have a look and see if there's any obvious issue. Like, even if there's just a tide mark there, that tide mark is going to be formed of chalky deposits from where the liquid has evaporated. And those chalky deposits will be conductive, which is going to cause false input. So, yeah. But I'd hesitate about voiding a warranty for this when you could just send it back.
Just send it back.
That's our thoughts. Make your decision as you will. Right. Precision touchpad doesn't need Dell drivers. I mean, if the trackpad has got really good firmware, maybe. However, most modern trackpads kind of need the software to sort them out. I think a lot of people don't realize how much work the trackpad drivers are actually doing on a modern trackpad. But yeah. Got a basic warranty, but it doesn't cover much. Covered under warranty for 6 months. I mean, you'll have a 1-year warranty on it because that's UK law.
Yeah, if it's faulty, it's faulty.
Yeah. If the trackpad is not working as advertised, you have a 1-year warranty from Currys. However, I believe that Currys are getting really finicky these days because, like,
probably because they haven't got any money.
Yeah, but I think they are actually being told to be really stingy. At the start of the year, I had a chap come in with a Samsung soundbar that he'd bought from Currys for like 200 quid or something. Didn't work. Stone dead. And he said, oh, he'd been to Currys, and they were like, oh, yeah, well, we're going to have to send it back to Samsung and stuff like that. And I'm just like, that's not how this works. If it's broken, they give you your money back. That's how that works. And the guy was just like, well, they didn't want to. And I'm like, doesn't matter what they want.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, and as I say, I looked at it. It was stone dead. It wasn't just weird. It was literally did not switch on. So, I hope he did get his money back because, like I say, it was a very clear-cut case, but it seemed to imply that Currys were being incredibly evasive toward just giving the man his money back for a product that was faulty.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's pretty...
What's up, Pianov? How you doing?
That's pretty expected.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I guess they're going to try and put the customer off, but maybe I'm putting too much faith in them to be a good company. But like, if it's within 12 months, it's just like, you can't argue with someone if it's within 12 months. If there is a fault with the device and you're within 12 months and there is no reasonable belief that the customer damaged it, that means you owe them their money back, right? Yeah. Although, how does the law work? Let's say I buy a laptop and it develops a fault at 6 months and I bought it from, say, Currys. do they have to give me my money back, or are they entitled to say, no, we can get it repaired? I forget how it works. They have to get it repaired within a reasonable time frame, though, don't they?
As far as I'm aware, it's a case of if it's within, like if it's within a certain number of days, it's a case of just a refund. But then it's very quickly a case of repair.
They have a chance to repair it, which can take 28 days. Yeah, and so 28 days is I would say that's a reasonable time frame for a repair. Although no more than that. So yeah, that's fair. Send it to manufacturer for 28 days. Fair enough. Yeah. However, they still need to do that. But yeah, very well. Butaudo says, I grabbed a 6600 XT and you found out that the game you play makes the AMD 6000 series artifact in textures. Done a lot of stress tests on the GPU and VRAM and nothing. People reported the same. What game is it, just out of interest?
Then the game is faulty and the game needs to be fixed.
Yeah. I've not seen that myself, but I have... I'm always interested to know what produces these kinds of issues, just so you know what is a hardware fault or a software fault on site. Because if you can't reproduce the fault in any other software, then clearly it's an issue with that specific game, especially if other people are saying the same.
Yeah.
So that's a thought. The Currys send you any repairs? Apple sends laptops to Paul Daniels on occasions. Really? Citation needed. I'd be interested to know if that's actually the case. I would want to confirm that with Paul, because that doesn't carry with anything that I'd imagine, but that would be very interesting if it were true.
There was a comment from him about something to do with repair contracts and a company sending him stuff. I know on one of his live streams recently, but I think that was a company who was
an Apple authorized repair center, probably.
Yeah,
or
it was a large company with their Macs.
Yeah,
who was sending them for repair.
Yeah, like if it was an authorized repair center, then I could kind of understand that, because they could do stuff. They can do some stuff under the table if they really want the data, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, he had one from an Apple shop the other day. Are you sure he didn't just say this has been to an Apple shop and they couldn't fix it, so the customer brought it to me? Because that would be very common.
I don't know. Seems it seems like an interesting setup if that is the case, but I will have to find out, because I watch most of his live streams anyway.
Fair enough. Yeah, I try and drop him when I can, but often I never think of it at the time when he's streaming.
Yeah, no, I generally don't watch them live. I generally watch them afterwards and just...
Oh, fair enough. You watch the VOD,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like I'll come up, or I'll come in 3/4 of the way through it and I'll just watch from the beginning on 2x.
Yeah. Fair enough, yeah. Jerry says, thought the contract was with the shop. They have a contract with the maker supply. That's how I thought it worked. If there's a problem with the device and they say, oh, well, Samsung need to fix that. And it's like, well, you better send it back to Samsung then, hadn't you? That's how I thought it worked.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is kind of that case of the relationship is with whomever sold it, and it depends on kind of what timescale you're looking at.
Yeah. Fair enough.
I just know it's a case that reasonably often you just you just stick to your you stick your ground with a case of, well, you have sold me a non-functioning product. I wish to have a functioning product.
Because, a shop who then refuses that is going to immediately just burn all the bridge of customer faith with them.
Yeah.
So, for me, even if I was legally allowed to refuse that and say, no, I've got to send it to... Even if I was legally allowed to refuse it and say, no, you must send it to Dell or something like that, I wouldn't, because that's just going to immediately completely incinerate the customer's faith in me as a business owner.
Yeah.
Which is just eventually you're going to get a rep for that. But I guess if you're Curry's, you don't care because you're too big to fail. But Mike's Unboxing says, watching the stream on my PC and Crazy O is also watching on his phone for the echo. Oof. Time to put on headphones. Also, Mike, how did you get on with your USB 3 front header port? Did you find a solution to that in the end? Be interested to know how that went. Duncanny says, finally made it. Hi, everyone. Hi, my dude. You are here at the end. We are just coming up to the 3-hour marker, so I think we're probably going to wrap up in a minute.
Yeah, basically.
Because we've done our 3 hours and we've waffled for 3 hours. So, yeah. But, yes. Shop handle sending it for the 28-day repair. Yeah, that's true. Like, if I sell a Dell laptop and it's faulty and it comes back to me, I'm going to say, cool, I'm going to send this to Dell and it will be fixed on their time kind of thing. So, but on the flip side, though, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think, yeah, I don't know. Mate, I need to. The customer was kind of evasive because certainly if it's stone dead, I would expect it to get done. But the customer seemed to be implying that Curry's just wouldn't help him, kind of thing. But then maybe he was just going like, 28 days, that's ridiculous. I'll take it someplace else, kind of thing. It's like, no, that's actually kind of a reasonable response there, as long as they actually do it. Like, you bring it to them, they say, okay, we won't refund you, but we will get this fixed. You will get a working soundbar within 28 days. And it's a case of, okay, that is a reasonable response. If it's stone dead and it's like a week old, it's just like, but that is a reasonable response.
Well, if it's less than 30 days old, you just get a refund.
Yeah, I mean, in actual fact, this soundbar was less than 2 weeks old.
Yeah.
So,
should have just got a straight refund.
Yeah. However, I kind of omitted that information for the benefit of the doubt. So.
Yeah.
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 Board is crashing in the BIOS, so I left it to one side for now. Needs more investigation. That's fair enough. Yeah. Yeah.
You don't need to buy an additional warranty to receive a product that functions when you buy it.
No. I don't believe in extended warranty. I don't believe in extended warranties personally, just because it's gambling the product is going to fail. The product should come with the warranty that the manufacturer believes it will work for. If the manufacturer only provides a 1-year warranty on it, then, I mean, no, hang on a sec. Let me start that again, because that was a car crash of a statement. You shouldn't need to buy an extended warranty to get your 1 year of warranty. Basically, you shouldn't need to register for that. You shouldn't need to claim on it. You know, you shouldn't have to, like, because there are some people, you know, you shouldn't have to take the card and then fill out the card and call the number and say, I've registered my product. If it's less than a year old, it's covered under manufacturer warranty. End of story. That much is absolute.
Yeah, and the generalized statement is that that's 2 years anyway.
Yeah, see, what is the UK? Because I thought it was only 2 years if it was distance selling. So, like, over the internet. Is that the case for brick and mortar as well?
As far as I'm aware.
Yeah.
As far as I'm aware, it was 2 years for manufacture. Wow, it starts getting complicated.
Yeah.
But the generalized comment is it's 2 years for the vast majority of stuff and the vast majority of reasons. If you can categorically demonstrate it was a latent defect, you have, in theory, 7 years for it to be covered for that.
So this would be stuff like, damn it. This would be stuff like recalls, where it was found to be a known issue with the product, kind of thing.
To a degree, yes.
Or,
but also a case of if you could demonstrate that it was an issue that would have been there from the start.
The screen failed because it was fitted incorrectly during manufacturing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of, there's stuff on that.
Got to go to you guys. No problem, Cyber.
The long answer is it's complicated and it's difficult, and basically you need to look at stuff. Look at the actual law that's there, and also a case of
it becomes incredibly circumstantial.
Not trading standards. What the hell am I thinking of?
Trading standards.
oh god, what are they called? Not consumer advice.
Citizens advice.
Citizens advice. That's what it's
Yeah.
called. Stuff like that, because they'll be able to give you actual chapter and verse on it and stuff as well.
Fair enough.
So yes, stuff like that. Obviously, it's a case of it depends on what the cost of a replacement item is compared to the length of time it will take for you to get that resolution compared to the cost of buying a new one. Because obviously, a case of if you earn fictitious £100 an hour,
yeah,
it will take you 5 hours to get the repair authorized and sorted, and a replacement device costs 50 quid. You are better off just buying a new one.
Yeah.
Which isn't the principle of the point, but is the pragmatic response. So it's kind of a case of, yeah, there
Fair
needs
enough.
to be a degree of pragmatism.
Yeah. Yeah. Sequel says, we're forced to sell the extended care warranties at work. We've got targets to hit each month, or we get a visit from the area manager. Yeah. Man, that's what I didn't... I worked back at Dixon's back in the day, and Dixon's were part of the DSG group, so Dixon's store group, and that was Curry's, PC World, and Dixon's. And yeah, at Dixon's we had targets and commission, and I hated it, which is why I didn't work there very long. I hated it because what you were expected to sell to the customer for the best margins and commissions wasn't necessarily what was best for the customer. So yeah.
Well, it intentionally wasn't.
Well,
Because you were
was
intentionally selling what was best for margins.
Yeah, but sometimes we would have something in that would have good margins because they had managed to get a load of them on the cheap or something like that, and it was legitimately a good product that was fit for purpose for a majority of people. You know, like I was doing this at the time where lots of people were going out and buying DVD players for their TVs. You know, and like obviously like a cheap DVD player, it might not have had the features that the Sony or the Panasonic had, but it played DVDs. What do you expect? You know, it was fine. Most people didn't have HD TVs at that point, so you didn't really care what the quality was because it was still going to be over and above what your standard def CRT TV could do.
Yeah.
You know, and the only LCDs we had in the shop were hilariously bad, like the pixels were this big kind of thing. You know, and just the LCD TV. Oh man. I think we had
pretty
one
sure
or
my
two.
parents spent over £1,000 on our first DVD player.
I think we had one or two LCD TVs in Dixon's when I worked there, and they were hilariously expensive. And like every time people were like, so what's the deal with that's a flat screen? You know, one of them newfangled flat screen TVs. And I'd be like, yeah. And I'll be like, they work best when you're sitting up, standing away from them. You know, you'd have to sort of step all the way back. You know, and you'd be like, as soon as you can see, it looks pretty good from back here, kind of thing. And they're like, I see. And you're like, so you know, if you account for the fact that you know when it's in the room and you'll be sitting on your sofa, you know, and they're like, I see. But when it was up close, it was just 640 by 480 or something. You know, God, it's just I don't know. Oof. Right, let's wrap up. Corey Little asked earlier on, do you rate the ThinkPad T480 as a good, decent second-hand laptop for office use? The ThinkPads are good second-hand laptops. I don't like ThinkPads personally. In my opinion, I would prefer a Dell Latitude. Something like a Dell Latitude 5480 or something like that, which is what I run. Oh, yeah. I think it's much more modern. And like Dell Latitude 5480s, they're like £160 on eBay. They're really cheap, and they don't have that old man feel that the ThinkPads do. The problem with the ThinkPads is they feel like they're 20 years old because they have chassis from 20 years ago. And so I'm not a fan of them personally. They're a nightmare to take apart and repair. Everyone goes, oh, so repairable. It's like you have access to all the critical components like, you know, the hard drive, the memory, stuff like that. But if it actually needs serious repair, it's a 3-piece chassis design that is a horrifying nightmare to disassemble. And I find the screens on them tend to fail as well, in my experience. But this is one guy's experience. Make of that what you will. Personally, I like Latitudes. But yes.
It's also a case of like, for £100 or £130, it doesn't sound terrible.
Yeah, I don't think
getting
it's going to be
i7 8650U.
Yeah,
doesn't sound terrible. Oh,
for a second,
it's 1.9 gigahertz.
Yeah.
Oh, what the fuck?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's a U series. It's a U SKU. But
fuck off.
yeah, the Latitudes will have
How is
U
this an
SKUs as
i7?
well.
How is this an i7? It has the same processing power as a toaster.
Yeah. Yeah, the Latitudes will be the same. But yeah, it is what it is. For the price point it's at, I don't think you're going to get robbed for anything you buy. But yeah, just a thought. Look at the Latitudes. Personally, I like Latitudes. I think they're a lot slicker and a lot more modern. But that's just me. Dave Weldon asked, did I make it to the dinner table the other week? I did. It was fine. It was all good.
Success.
Indeed. Precision series much better than Latitude? Yeah, Precisions are big boys though, aren't they? The Precision series are all like 15 and 17 inch, I think. And if you want a big boy laptop, then that's fine. Like, if you want a big boy laptop with integrated graphics, then yeah, get a Precision. But if you're looking for like an office laptop, then the Latitude is a lot more convenient, I think. And yeah, the Latitudes are a bit plasticky, but they don't, you know, not in a bad way, in my opinion. They're still built like tanks. But again, you know, each to their own and stuff. How come you're not on fiber internet in your shop? Because I haven't upgraded to it yet. We had an enormous conversation about this earlier on.
That's also a case of talking about actual optical fiber to the box on the wall.
I got fiber to the cabinet.
It's a long conversation about the state of broadband in the UK. Is a comparison to other countries and so on.
This is true,
which we're not going back into. But yes.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. On that bombshell, I'm off out. No problem. Well, thanks for tuning in. I think we are going to jet as well. I'm going to scan through and check. I think we're going to bounce. Been gifted a MacBook Air from 2019 because the Type-C charger died and the customer had it with the unreliable charging and said it's repairable. They went, nah, buy a new one instead. That sounds like a free MacBook Air. Very nice. Good stuff. Graham Ellis says, my work Latitude has the worst screen you've ever had. Oh, that's sad. Oh no, you got the 1366 by 768. Yeah, that's sad. That's mega. That's mega
horrifying.
Bad. Yeah, there are 1366 by 768 ones out there. A lot of them have 1080p screens. My 5480 has a 1080p screen, but there are 1366 by 768 ones out there. If you search, if you make sure it has an IPS panel, it'll be the 1080p panel. I think that holds true. But yeah, double check. So yeah, Precision is a workstation. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. You got the big boy laptop, but you still wear little boy's pajamas. Look, they're cozy. They're cozy. So yeah.
Pajamas?
I don't know either, but
anyway.
Bananas
and pajamas.
Is that MacBook a Hackintosh? It is not. It's just a MacBook running macOS. But yeah.
Which what MacBooks do.
Yeah. Right. I've enjoyed this conversation in English.
I have been present.
You've done a lot of talking today because we've been on topics that you know well. So yeah.
Indeed.
We'll be back next week with something else. There'll be a video at some point. I don't know when. I'm tired.
I'm tired delivering it as well.
Yeah. Hopefully
I did not.
Hopefully I'll get a couple of half decent repairs that will make for good videos.
Oh,
so yeah.
hi, Mark.
Anywho, yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in. We'll see you next week with something else. Thank you to all the channel members, subscribers, and Patreons and all of the rest of it. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the super chats, and we'll see you next week. If you want to see more of my stupid face and hear my stupid voice, I'll be streaming more Sekiro tomorrow at Twitch. There we go. I'll be streaming more Sekiro Shadows Die Twice on Twitch tomorrow at 7 PM UK time. Otherwise, we'll see you soon.
Although from the sound of it, it was way more than twice.
Oh, yes, yes. I died a lot last week. It was a rough start to that game, man. Ugh. All right. Thank you, everyone. See you soon.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye. Do the thing.
It's done.